Welcome to Beat the Line NFL Week 10 show here on Pub Sports Radio. I am rolling with my co-host Rob Bebnek, and we have entered the second half of the season. It was a week 9 that came very close to being spectacular for me as the books destroyed the public. I went 7-2 on my bets from Tuesday. But I did fuck them up because I added 2 losers on Sunday, right before kickoff. But it was still a healthy 8-5 plus 2.35 unit week. Bebsie, you went 6-6 minus 0.36 units. A first half to forget, but lots of time to make up the second half. How are you doing on this Tuesday evening, Bebsie?
Yeah. I'm here, Jimmy. I'm still here.
I believe in you. I've watched you cap NFL for years. I've never seen you at a point like you are right now. And I believe that you will turn it around. Let's do a quick review of what happened last week and then get into beating up this week. There's Viper MB, Prince of the City, Danny Lopez, AB, Schnizzle joining us. So after I lost the Thursday nighter on a bet that I made on Thursday night. So I started the week with the Jets team total under 16.5. It blew up in my face. At that point, I'm down 9.05 units and not sure if the season's going to get away from me. But the Tuesday action that went 9-2 is Broncos plus 9.5, Denver, Dallas under 49.5, cash. Falcons plus 6, cash. Bills first half -7, -125 was a loser. Vikings plus 5.5, cash. Dolphins -6.5, cash. Chargers -1.5, cash. 49ers money line was a loser, and Bears plus 6.5, cash. Then midweek we added Packers plus 7.5, which was a casher. At that point, I'm 8-3. But like an ass clown, I added the Panthers plus 3.5 and Green Bay, Kansas City over 48. Mistakes. So 8-5 plus 2.35 units. Bebsie, you went 6-6. You had Bills first half -7 at -118 was a loser. Minnesota, Baltimore over 49.5 was a casher. I came close to adding it, but it went to 51, and I didn't, which was a mistake. Chargers -1 casher. Packers money line before the Aaron Rodgers news was a loser. 49ers plus 100 was a loser. But then you bet Packers plus 7.5, which was a casher. You went 2-1 in your Packer running props. Love over 8.5 rush yards cashed. A.J. Dillon over 37.5 rush yards cashed. Aaron Jones over 62.5 rush yards did not. The Bourne TD plus 450 did not cash. Thielen over 58.5 receiving yards. He only caught for 6 yards, but did catch a TD pass. Crazy. And Woods, you're calling Woods was excellent. He caught for about 96 yards. And you went on the over 59.5 receiving yards. That was the week that was. Now we begin the second half. Bebsie, I need to know that you're ready to fucking rock, Bebsie. Let's start this year. To start this second half for you at 0-0, just like the Detroit Lions are doing, Bebsie, right? They're 0-0. Now, I'm not comparing you to the Detroit Lions, but
I feels like I'm the Detroit Lions. I've had like 4 even weeks, and everything else has been a loss. I have not yet even had a positive win column, never mind units. So it has to go up.
I have only seen you succeed for years at NFL, and I believe in you. But we need to know, those of us watching this show need to know, do you believe in you, Bebsie?
Well, first of all, I have access to the comments again. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. Sometimes I get the comments. Sometimes I don't. I haven't had them for a while. I got them back again. I'm reading Prince in the City. Bet everything on the Eagles. I'm going to take advice. I'm going to bet everything on the Eagles. Slats 45. Bebsie done with those Niners. What a disgrace. He's absolutely right. I am done with the Niners. I'm fucking livid with the Niners right now. How do you come out and play like that? How do you come out and play like dog shit and let Colt McCoy rip you apart? I will never stop loving the Niners, but God, am I angry with them right now.
Yeah, that was just trash. What did McCoy go 22 for 26? I mean, it was just absolutely ludicrous. Bebsie, let's have a winning week and just go week by week. That's what I've been telling myself. I've had back-to-back winning weeks. Let's just move forward in that direction. Are you ready to cap this Thursday nighter?
I'm ready to go, baby. Let's do this.
Let's get to work right now. We start Thursday, November 11th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Baltimore Ravens, 6-2, 2-1 on the road at the Miami Dolphins, 1-3 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, 75 Fahrenheit, scattered thunderstorms, 4 miles per hour. This opened with the Ravens minus 7.5, and that was at plus 104. That's no longer a plus number. That's minus 101 at Pinnacle. It's minus 115 at Sports Interaction. It's minus 110 at Bet365. So market moving towards Baltimore. This total opened up at 47. Pinnacle is leading the way to the drop here. They have a 46. There's 46.5 at other books. When we go over to where the cash lies in this spot, just 4,640 tickets in, but it's all coming in Ravens. 79% of the tickets on the Ravens, 98% of the cash on the Ravens. That's in the spread. Then total-wise, you have 82% of tickets and 82% cash on the over, which is confusing, to say the least, as we're watching this total drop from 47 to 46.5 to 46. Ravens coming off a wild 34-31 win at home over the Vikings. Tucker kicked a 36-yard field goal, 16 seconds left in overtime to give the Ravens the win. 18th game-winning field goal for this incredible kicker. 53 consecutive field goals in the fourth quarter and overtime. Unbelievable. They've won 3 times this season after trailing by double digits in the second half. And they destroyed the Vikings statistically. 36-13 edge in first downs. Had the ball for 46 minutes and 4 seconds. Minnesota just 23-40. Lamar Jackson 27-41 for 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ran 21 times for 120 yards. It was his 10th career 100-yard rushing game, tying Michael Vick. They ran 45 times for 247 yards as a team. Devontae Freeman, 13 carries for 79 yards. Le'Veon Bell, 11 times for 48 yards. Marquise Brown was his main target, catching 9 passes for 116 yards. Rashad Bateman caught 5 passes for 52 yards. They didn't register a sack, but did have 6 quarterback hits. The defense was coming off allowing 41 points to the Bengals and did not look good here. They improved in the second half. In the second half, the Vikings only had 114 yards. Safety Deshaun Elliott will be out for the season. He has a pectoral bicep injury. They were without Sammy Watkins, thigh, Latavius Murray ankle. Watkins was a limited participant today at practice. Murray couldn't go. Defensive tackle Brandon Williams, guard Patrick McCarry, and cornerback Tavon Young all missed last week's game and are listed as questionable here. How bad is this Ravens defense? And are the Dolphins, and we'll get into the Dolphins, but are they capable of doing what the Ravens did, what the Vikings did to them, or what the Bengals did to them?
Listen, I don't think it's time to quite hit the panic button on the Ravens defense yet. I said, on Tuesday last week, I said that Kirk Cousins very seldom has 2 bad games in a row. He was coming off a pretty awful game. I'm still livid that Thielen had 2 catches for 6 yards. They put up 31 points. If I was going to tell you, Jimmy, before you saw the results, that the Ravens would put up 31 points and Adam Thielen would have 2 catches for 6 yards, you'd think I was insane.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's ridiculous. But look, the Vikings offense is very capable of putting up points in bunches. Again, Cousins, I should have backed Cousins. Cousins coming off a bad game is always very good. So I don't think it's quite time to hit the panic button. Also now, this is a possible get-right spot against a weak Miami team. So, yeah, let's pump the brakes. You are not going to play good playoff football with a defense like that. So they have to get that shit right before they move forward.
Dolphins coming off an ugly 17-9 victory at home over the Texans. It was as ugly as football gets. But I was on the Dolphins minus 6.5. The market went heavily against me, and I was thankful for the victory. 2 teams combined for 9 turnovers. Brissett filled in for Tua. He missed the game with a finger injury on his throwing hand. He's been limited at practice so far this week. Flores said he's optimistic that he will play. If he doesn't play, he will serve as the emergency backup. Brissett was 26 of 43 for 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also lost a fumble. The Texans became the 12th team in NFL history to start 1-0 and lose their next 8 games. And that was going to be the Dolphins' fate had they have lost. Waddle caught 8 passes for 83 yards. Gesicki, 4 catches for 54 yards. The Dolphins get nothing on the ground week after week after week. As a team, they ran 25 times for 47 yards. Myles Gaskin had 20 carries for 34 yards, lost a fumble. Emmanuel Ogbah had 4 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass, defended, 3 quarterback hits. They had 3 interceptions, 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Greg Mance, their center, was lost in the first quarter to an ankle injury. He's listed as questionable this week. Safety Brandon Jones missed last week, limited at practice today. Limited is not bad. So is Jerome Baker, their linebacker. So both limited at practice, while safety Elijah Campbell missed last week, and there's been no update. Will Fuller and Devontae Parker remain on the IR. I look at this spot and think there are real issues with the Baltimore Ravens defense. I see everybody on the Ravens, and look, the public had their run, and I just don't see it continuing. Now, maybe this is a week where you don't want to fade the public like crazy because, books had their best week in years on Sunday. But I don't think I want the Ravens here. I think that it might be a smart move to sit back and wait for the 8s and the 8.5s and so on. I don't think the Dolphins are as bad as they've looked. Look, they have they're terrible offensively, but their defense, I guess we shouldn't get too caught up in a good performance against the Texans. Maybe this is just a simple stay off because I don't want the Ravens as over a score or a 2-point conversion touchdown favorite on the road. Bebsie, if you had a $5 free bet and I was forcing you to make a bet on side or total, what would you do and what do you think of the Dolphins right now?
I'd take that $5 and I'd tail Burgundy bets on the rush props over 62.5 for Lamar Jackson. I really think that's a sharp look from Burgundy. If you did force me, I honestly think I'd take the Dolphins and the points, especially if you do get an 8. Look, it's still a home team with a solid defense on a short week. And I think there's value, I guess, in taking the Dolphins and the points here. I still wouldn't. It's a stay away game. I mean, even if it wasn't a Thursday nighter, it'd still be a stay away game for me. I get it. It's a tough one to call here. And I mean, 7.5 points on the road on a short week is a lot. You can see that the Dolphins are 2-7, but are they that bad? Are they a 2-7 football team? I mean, I guess you are what your record says you are, but I feel like the Dolphins are a little better than that.
Look, I do too. And I'm thinking of, I guess this is going to end up being a Dolphins or no bet spot for me. So, look, 98% of action on the Ravens right now. Probably should stay off at this point. But I imagine points could be scored here. Even the over, I'm hesitant to back here. Thank you guys all for joining us today. We got Razor Sharp picks, Viper NB, Gerald Jones, Slatsy 45, Alvin Smith, Big Show picks, Burgundy bets, Ick Schnizzle says, I like Baltimore early here. Gerald Jones in the house. And Birdie says it's Dolphins or nothing. He says Ravens do have a history of looking past. They have been home forever heading to Florida. I'm looking at Miami here. Like your breakdown, will this hit 8 or 8.5? Yes. I believe for sure this will hit 8 or 8.5. I believe it'll hit 8.5 by tomorrow. So we're sitting here at Tuesday, 8:21 p.m. So I'm the same way as Birdie. This is a Dolphins or no bet spot. That's how I plan to bet it. I know you despise Thursdays. Are you ready to move on to our next spot to start attacking Sunday, Bebsie?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, that is your Thursday nighter. I plan Dolphins or nothing. Just before we do that, quickly, this total sitting at 46 or 46.5. If you had a free play on the total, what would you do?
I'm on the opposite side. I think you're insinuating that you think a lot of points will be scored. My guess is Thursday night, low-scoring affair. I think an ugly game in Miami. So I would, if I had a free bet, take the under.
And that's what the market is telling us at this point. Although the public's on the over, or I shouldn't say the public. The gamblers are on the over at this point. I don't know if the public's betting in Monday and Tuesday to get in early on the Thursday nighter. All right, let's move on to the Sunday card. November 14th. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern. Atlanta Falcons 4-4, 3-1 on the road at Dallas Cowboys 6-2, 3-1 at home. We're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the market that we're dealing with here in this Falcons spot. The Falcons finally cashed me a bet, man. Holy shit. They're so I don't know what the right word, but they always play the Saints tough. And they always, no matter how good they look, almost lose. They always seem susceptible to the opposition late in games. They're a wildly, I don't know what inconsistent team, but they do the same things over and over again. So that doesn't really make sense, calling them an inconsistent team. This total opened up at 52. It shot all the way up to 55. Wild. Falcons Cowboys opening up at 52. It shot up to 55, and Pinnacle leading the way to that over. Dallas opening up at -10. They're now at 10, 9, or 9.5. When we go to the cash flow in this spot, 3,682 tickets in. 44% of the tickets on the Cowboys, 82% of the cash. Then 68% of the tickets on the over, 90% of the cash. Falcons coming off a big 27-25 win in New Orleans, up 17-3 heading into the fourth. Even with Calvin Ridley unavailable, Matt Ryan looked as good as he's looked this year. 23-30, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Cordero Patterson caught 6 passes for 126 yards. Russell Gage caught 6 passes for 126 yards. Oh, no, that can't be. I'm just repeating the Cordero Patterson stats. My fault. I believe it was about 70 yards Russell Gage had. Let me just take that off completely. Kyle Pitts caught 3 passes for 62 yards, but their ground game was a disaster. 25 carries for 34 yards. They managed just 1 sack, but had 5 quarterback hits. Cornerback Kendall Sheffield left with a hamstring injury in the first half. He's not on the injury report. Linebacker Steven Means hurt his knee and is listed as questionable this week. Defensive end Jonathan Bullard and center Josh Andrews missed last week, listed as questionable this week. And Atitakumpo Ogundeji left, and we thought there was an upper body injury, and it looked bad, but he's not on this week's injury report. Cowboys coming off a shocking, ugly 30-16 loss at home to the Broncos to snap their 6-game winning streak. It was glorious for us. Broncos plus the points cashed easy. The under cashed easy. The Cowboys' number 1 offense looked awful. Prescott returned after missing a game with a strained right calf. Couldn't get the Cowboys moving. 2 meaningless late touchdowns that avoided their worst shutout loss since 1985. It would have been their worst shutout loss at home since 1985. Prescott 19-39 for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That 4-game run with at least 3 touchdown passes long gone. Schultz led receivers with 4 catches for 54 yards, 0 for 4 on 4th down. Amari Cooper had his first drop of the season. And that was on a 4th down. They finished with a season-low 290 yards. Amari Cooper caught 2 passes for 37 yards. Zeke, slowed by this right knee injury. He says it's bothered him all year. He limped off. He was clearly in pain on the sidelines. He had 10 carries for 51 yards. When he wasn't playing, he had a large covering on his knees. A fucking drama queen, man. They rushed 16 times for 78 yards. Micah Parsons was excellent. 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. As a team, they had 4 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Their offensive line did not look good. Tyron Smith inactive. McCarthy said that Michael Gallup will practice fully Wednesday. He's expected to return from the injured list. DeMarcus Lawrence won't play Sunday against the Falcons with his foot injury. Here we go, Bebsie. Our first game on Sunday. Falcons, Cowboys. Take it away.
Well, I mean, I almost feel even at -9, it's kind of a buy low spot for the Cowboys, isn't it? You know, the Falcons coming off a pretty dominating win. A lot of points on the service, but Dallas. Yeah, it sounds like Bertie and I are on the same page here. Like you said, you got the Falcons coming off a huge win for them against a division rival that is, quite frankly, a better football team than them, and Dallas coming off a tough loss. I'm curious how they're going, if Tyron Smith is going to play, how they're going to play without him. I mean, that left tackle spot, especially with an ailing Dak Prescott, is all too important to this offense. So I don't know how you can back Atlanta here, even with the points, even them coming off this great game. I think there is value in Dallas at -9.
Yeah, I think that you have to play off what was seen last week.
I think you have to shrug off what you saw last week, unless it's so hard with Dak being injured and Tyron Smith being out. Because if Tyron Smith is out and Dak's not 100%, that is going to make their offense struggle. And this team really, their offense is the strength, of course. So I don't know. It's a tough call. I'm personally going to be off it. If I was going to take it, I think I'd take the Cowboys.
Yeah, I get why you would take the Cowboys. Here is a situation sort of like we were talking about with the Miami Thursday Nighter, where it's clearly Dallas or no bet. This is an angry team with the number one offense in the league that played the fool, and they want to show out. I'm saying that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points, but I mean, what have we said about season-defining wins and the team off of that? Now you're going on the road. You're going into Big D. I just don't know how. If Dallas's offense is healthy, who stops them?
Look, I get it. I absolutely get it. Brady says, had the Falcons beat the Saints, I'd be on the Falcons here. Had the Falcons not beat the Saints, at this number. But we just saw the Saints in the same situation, lay an egg versus the Falcons. Black Prescott says Falcons may put up a fight. Saints got real lucky to come back in that game, says Birdie. So it's I guess you're right. I don't want anything to do with it. I understand why the market's gone from 52 to 55. In saying that, I'm not going to take the ass end of the line. So
and kudos to anybody who grabbed the 52, the over. I kind of feel the same way. I'm not going to jump in at 55. But kudos to the cappers out there. I know a few of you did grab that 52. So
I almost bet this before the show started, this next game. Let me just see if it's moved here now. -120. I don't even know if this will be available after the show, to be honest. Talking about wanting to kind of reverse the situation from what we saw last week. Let's move on to New Orleans Saints at Tennessee Titans. We have so many of these same storylines going on this week. And here's one with the Saints Titans. And I could have got the Saints +3 at -115 today, and I almost did. Now it would be available for me +3 at -120. And I wanted to talk it out, and I doubt it moves to 2.5 before midnight. Saints 5-3, 3-1 on the road. Titans 7-2, 3-1 at home. We're at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. 51 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 11 miles per hour is the wind. We have Tennessee opening up at -3 at -105. They're now -3 at +105. Bulldogs also moving on to +105. Like Will Hill, Bet365, Sports Interaction at +100. This total opened up at 45 at -107, slightly juiced to the over at Pinnacle. It's down slightly juiced to the under, -111. Let's see if there's sharp action anywhere here. 2,181 tickets in. This is possibly going to stop me in my tracks. 64% of the tickets on the Titans, 74% of cash on the Titans. Then you have 36% of tickets on the under and 56% of cash on the under. Do I want to back Simeon here? Would I prefer to trust this Titan defense and take the under here? Let's break it down. Saints coming off a disappointing 27-25 home loss to the Falcons. They were down 17-3 going to the fourth. New Orleans rallied for 3 straight TDs in the final 8 minutes. Simeon, 25 of 41, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did lose a fumble. Kamara caught 4 passes for 54 yards, ran 13 times for 50 yards. Traquan Smith caught 3 passes for 53 yards. Deontay Harris got 6 for 52. The defense had 2 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. DB CJ Gardner-Johnson hurt his leg in the second quarter, carted to the locker room, but it's not a horrific situation, at least at this point, from what I've learned. It's just questionable. Wide receiver Ty Montgomery, defensive end Carl Granderson both missed last week's game. They're listed as questionable this week. And as most of you guys know, Michael Thomas announced on his personal Twitter that he will not be playing this year, and it looks like he needs more surgery on his ankle. Titans coming off a big 28-16 win at the Rams in their first game without superstar Derrick Henry. Tannehill, 19-27 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. A.J. Brown led the receivers with 5 catches for 42 yards. Julio Jones next with 4 catches for 35 yards. We're just going to see their statistics drop and drop and drop because you don't need to fill the box up against this team without Derrick Henry. Deonta Foreman ran 5 times for 29 yards. Jeremy McNichols, whom we expected to be the number one, only ran 7 times, but for 24 yards. Adrian Peterson ran 10 times for 21 yards, got a touchdown. AP back in the league. As a team, they ran 26 times for 69 yards. Amani Hooker had 12 tackles. Jeffrey Simmons was excellent. 6 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. As a team, they had 5 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. Kevin Byard returned a pick to the house. David Long Jr. took one back to the Rams, too. Taylor Lewin was active, but unavailable except in an emergency. You know, it's the dark side of football. And he's not in a good way mentally, and it's sad. Very sad. Aaron Brewer. So Aaron Brewer started in right guard in place of Nate Davis, and he looked pretty good. Davis is listed as questionable this week. I mean, obviously they want Davis back. Greg Maben, quarterback Greg Maben, offensive tackle Kendall Lamb, linebacker Rashawn Evans, and fullback Torrey Carter all missed the game last week. They're listed as questionable this week. Do we move on the Saints +3? You know, the more actually I wanted to talk this out to see where I would lean. The more I talk it out, the more I guess I don't really want Trevor Siemian, but feels like the Titans are going to struggle here, and Peyton can drop a defense to completely shut this team down. Let's hear what Bebsie has to say. Saints Titans.
Look, Jimmy, I feel like we're lockstep on this one. I want to back the Saints. My fear is backing Trevor Siemian. I didn't have anything good to say about him last week, even though he came in and played well. I don't have anything good to say about him this week. It's hard to lay a bet with him, although I see it being a tough spot with Tennessee. Attaboy Slaughter. I don't know. Look, I see it being a tough spot for Tennessee in that, you know, they have the Derrick Henry injury, and then they come out and they have a huge game with him out. And, you know, the run game was still terrible without him. Well, not terrible. It just wasn't any good. So I think this is a tougher spot for them this week. I don't think they have that battle cry because they won. But the Saints, I don't know, the Saints coming off a loss that they definitely were not expecting. I think they're the most dangerous team in this spot. But again, you got to back Trevor Siemian.
Yeah. So maybe the play is a, you know, Titans team total under. I mean, that seems to correlate at that. Oh, but then are you worried about Siemian? And, you know, this Titan secondary is really good. Are we worried that – and I can't believe I'm actually surprised I'm saying they're really good, but Byard looks like a fucking man on a mission right now. Is it a Titans team total under that we want to focus on? The Titans team total under 23.5, juice to the under?
I think that's I don't know. I think that's an all right look. Problem is, I don't think Adrian Peterson is going to get better from last week to this week. Well, let's face it, the excitement around him coming back has everything to do with what he's done in his career and not what he's capable of doing right now. I honestly thought McNichols should have gotten more touches. I'm seeing in the chat that Kamara is questionable for the game, which if New Orleans doesn't have Kamara, they're pretty well screwed.
I didn't have that in my notes. Let me just double check in a couple spots. I don't have them there. Let me just keep going though, Bebsie. I'm gonna look at a couple different places here.
Well, no, I mean if there is, I'm seeing a lot from the chat. Maybe injured, FYI. That's why I've waited. Then I would say it's Tennessee or no play here. Like without Kamara, you're without your starting quarterback. You're without Alvin Kamara. Your star receiver is nowhere to be seen.
Wow.
This is a really tough spot.
If
Kamara's out, then do you bet Tennessee right now and hope that if Kamara is out, then you've beat the line?
Wow, they worked out 3 running backs today. Kerryon Johnson, Rodney Smith, and Josh Adams. Whispers that he might have hurt himself. Again, they say it could be due diligence, preparing themselves in case they need to rest Kamara. Very, very interesting. Okay. Well, I think okay, so let's say there's some nerves about Kamara, nerves about Simeon. I think that the Titans team total under at 23.5 is where we attack. And if there's any issues with Kamara or anything of that sort, then the full game under is probably the spot to attack here. Where was the cash? 2,181. Oh, yeah, they were on the Titans and the under. And what is the under done here? Let me just check this very quickly here. This Tennessee Titans under opened up at 45, and it's down to 44.5. That seems to make sense to me. Titans team total under or just full game under. I guess I probably don't want to double up and have both on. Gerald Jones says under is to play first half. Terry Walker says, Whack Prescott assuming says, is Titans D really this good? Princess Z says, speed this shit up. I have to work at 5 a.m. That's what Prince of the City says. Birdie says, I would still be on the Saints, Bebsie. If we've learned anything, you play the team the first game after a major injury. Look what Tennessee just did Dallas 2 weeks ago. Oh, I agree. But I wouldn't be afraid to back the Saints without Kamara, in all honesty. But I want that line. I want that plus, 5 or a 2-point move at least, or whatever that's going to be. And then if that was the case, if there actually could be injury issues there, at least I can get in now on the team total under or the full game under. So I tell you this much. I'm going to move on either the Titans team total under or the full game under this evening. So that will be my first official play. I don't want to double up, but that's going to be my first spot. Bebsie has not made anything official yet at this point. Bebsie, you ready to roll on?
Yeah, ready to move on.
We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars 2-6, 0-3 on the road at Indianapolis Colts 4-5, 2-3 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. We start with the odds in this spot. Indianapolis opening up as 10.5-point favorites. That was initially at Pinnacle at -103. Now it's at +103. And Bodog's already moved it to 10. We'll see if the other books follow suit. This total was initially juiced to the over 47.5. It's now juiced to the under 47.5. When we go to where the cash lies in this spot, we have 3,467 tickets in. 61% of the tickets are on the Colts and 96% of the cash. Then it's 50-50. 50-50 on the tickets and then 51% of the cash on the under. Jags coming off that shocking 9-6 win at home over the Bills. Trevor Lawrence 15-26 for 118 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It looked like he hurt his right ankle. He was stepped on in the second quarter. Returned a few plays later. Sounds like he's good to go. Dan Arnold led the receiving corps with 4 catches for 60 yards. With James Robinson injured, Carlos Hyde ran 21 times for 67 yards. He did lose a fumble. Robinson dealing with a back injury, and I guess he tweaked it in the warm-up, so it wasn't clear that he wasn't going to be able to play. He's listed as questionable to go this week. Josh Allen was all over the field. 8 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, a recovered fumble. Rudy Ford had 7 tackles and an interception. As a team, they dialed up 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Matt Wright missed 3 straight field goal attempts at one point, but he did have 3 field goals in the game, 39, 55, and 21. Chris Claybrooks ruled out because of a concussion, and now he's in concussion protocol. So he's ruled out of the game after he got hurt. Now he's in concussion protocol. Colts coming off extra rest and preparation after winning 45-30 at home over the Jets on Thursday night. Wentz was 22 of 30 for 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Has thrown multiple TD passes in 6 straight games. Michael Pittman caught 5 passes for 64 yards and a touchdown. Zach Pascal caught 4 passes for 58 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran 19 times for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. Caught 2 passes for 28 yards. Did lose a fumble. Nyheim Hines ran 6 times for 74 yards. Touchdown. Caught 4 passes for 34 yards. The Colts picked up 260 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. At one point in this game, it was 42-10 midway through the third, and the Colts just let their foot off the gas. Bobby Okereke had 11 tackles, 1 interception. As soon as we learned how he wants his name pronounced, the guy's been a monster. Taylor Stallworth had 2 sacks, 1 pass defended, 3 quarterback hits. T.Y. Hilton missed the game. He's still in concussion protocol. Starting safety Kerry Willis went on injury reserve because of the calf injury. Right tackle Braden Smith left with a triceps injury. He's listed as questionable. Xavier Rhodes left with a calf injury. He's considered day-to-day and is questionable this week. So did the Colts put their foot off the gas, or is their defense not very good? Is this a spot where they have extra rest and preparation where they're just going to smash Jacksonville first half? Should we just bet Jacksonville first half tonight? Bebsie, take it away.
I think the spread's a little bit high given that it's a divisional performance. I'm not putting any stock into what happened with the Jaguars last week. I think that would be an overreaction to think that's the team we're going to see. They had an excellent performance. Obviously, Josh Allen played out of his mind. I got so sick of the Josh Allen versus Josh Allen jokes that were like, just, yeah, we get it. Same name. Shut the fuck up. That was the talking point all week, and I couldn't believe how many people jumped in on it. Please shut up. But no, I think it's a lot of points for a divisional matchup, and the Jags really at this point are kind of playing with house money. They don't care. Like this season, it's not like they're going to salvage this season and go on a run. So Indy has all the pressure here. They still have a chance. They're starting to get it together. Some of their players are starting to look great. Like Pittman is really getting there. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's been a stud all year. I would be very uncomfortable betting Indy at that number right now.
I feel like that's what the public is going to feel, though, after the Jags played so well. So you don't think the Colts just let their foot off the gas and we're just coasting to victory? You think that there are real issues on the Colts defense?
No, I don't. I really don't think. I think the Colts are a good football team, and I think that Indy got off to a slow start, but they're a good football team. This was a playoff team. Last year this was a team that we thought was a quarterback away from lighting it up, and they got Wentz, who is serviceable when he's healthy, which is not often. I just think it's a divisional matchup, and the Jags have no pressure. The Colts have pressure.
See, I'm starting to lean towards this Colts first half being the look here. Let's go back.
Burgundy Bets, I love that drinking game. It would have got real messy.
Yeah, it was. I'm with you. It was pretty annoying, but it was nice to see the Jags, Josh Allen, step up the way he did.
He's quietly been having a great career. Nobody talks about him because he's in Jacksonville, but he's, aside from his injury last year, he's been pretty damn good.
Okay, well, what did you see in that Bills Jags game. Did you see a Jags team that's improving week after week and is going to get better throughout the rest of the season?
I mean, how do you get worse than the way they've played up until last week? So I don't. Yeah, I expect them to get better, but that's just because the bar is so low. I don't. It's not like I think they've bought into what Urban Meyer does, and now this team is going to be a scrappy bunch of dogs for the rest of the year. Trevor Lawrence is in his rookie season. Of course, he's going to get better as the season goes on. He's not. I'm not saying he's bust proof. I just don't think that's going to be the case. So I think it was more the Bills just came out flat. I did not expect them to. That's what frustrated me the most about that. They've been so great in the first half all year. And I don't know if they just thought, oh, it's the Jags, we can coast here, and they got caught sleeping. But I also, again, I think there's no pressure on the Jags. When you're playing loose, you're a dangerous team. That's why, I'd be weary about -10. I understand the first half look. -6 first half. It's, Indy's a much better football team. They should, in theory, be winning by a touchdown at the half. I'd just be weary about Indy making the same mistake that Buffalo did. And again, the Jags just playing loose right now.
Let's go back to the Jags on the road so far this year. They haven't looked good. They lost 31-7 in Seattle with Geno Smith at quarterback. Do you think their success is something that they're only able to achieve at home, or you think they can carry this over to a road game?
I mean, most teams, not the Niners, most teams play better at home than they do on the road. Apparently also not Minnesota. But, again, it has more to do with the divisional matchup. I know that Indy has extra rest right now. I know the Jags are coming off, a season-defining win. So everything screams jump on Indy. And, that's why it's -10. But I have my apprehension. Gerald Jones does not. Gerald Jones thinks 31-7. That could very well be the outcome, and I'll be sitting here next Tuesday just eating my crow.
I think this is probably the perfect time to attack the Jags. The only fear would be, what the Titans and then the Jets did to the Colts defense. Is that a valid fear to have?
Sorry, say that again. I was just reading.
My only fear is what the Titans did 2 weeks ago and what the Jets did last week to this Colts defense.
I mean, there's a bunch of injuries on the Colts. They don't seem to have that hard edge that they did last year. But they still have loads of talent. So when you're playing against a team that doesn't have a ton of talent, but I mean, Jacksonville, when healthy, their offense does have some serious players. Like James Robinson's a great player. I think Laviska Shenault I think he's going to blossom into an absolute game wrecker. He's not there yet, but yeah, I don't know. I get it. I get why you would want to move on it. If I were to move on this personally, I'd be more comfortable with the first half than the full game. Reading Birdie's comments again, kind of pushing my lean back towards the Colts on this one.
Yeah, I want the Colts, and I want to refrain from double ups now that we're in the second half of the season, and I expect to move on the Colts first half this evening. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Cleveland Browns 5-4, 2-2 on the road at New England Patriots 5-4, 1-4 home at Gillette Stadium in Foxboro, Massachusetts. 50 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 10 miles per hour is the wind. So the big news in this game, Cleveland Brown running backs Nick Chubb, Demetric Felton, both tested positive for COVID. Both players are vaccinated, so their status for Sunday's game against New England Patriots is still in question. Just need the 2 negative tests within 24 hours. They have another running back, John Kelly, who went on the reserve COVID list on Monday. Kareem Hunt dealing with a calf injuries on IR. So there's one running back at the moment, Dearness Johnson, who's also vaccinated. So that's the big story coming out of Browns, Patriots at this point. Let's take a look at what the odds are telling us. Sorry, I'm on first half right now. Let's move over to full game. The total's at 44.5. It's now at 45 or 45.5. The Patriots are at -2.5. They're now at -1 or -1.5. Very, very interesting that the Browns are being backed in this spot. Very interesting. Let's see where the cash lies in this game. 3,228 tickets in. You have 45% of the tickets on the Patriots and 53% of the cash on the Patriots. Then you have 43% of tickets on the under and 91% of cash on the under. Browns come in off an impressive 41-16 win at the Bengals. Mayfield 14-21 for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and still using the stabilizing harness on his left shoulder. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 2 passes for 86 yards. Chubb ran 14 times for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 2 passes for 26 yards. Anthony Walker looked very good, 14 tackles, 1 sack. Troy Hill had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. They got 5 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. Denzel Ward stepped up enormously with that 99-yard interception return. John Johnson returned an interception, 31 yards, didn't get to the house, but still nice. OBJ cleared waivers. Any team can pick him up. Will he be playing for the Argonauts soon? We will see. Cornerback Greedy Williams went out on Cincinnati's second series with a right shoulder injury. He missed all of 2020 with nerve issue in this shoulder. So he's listed as day-to-day, but I do not expect him in there. He's too important at this point. Tack McKinley growing day-to-day after aggravating that injury against the Bengals. Patriots coming off a 24-6 win at Carolina. Mac Jones went 12-18 for 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Also lost a fumble. Ramondre Stevenson, rookie, stepped up, man. 10 carries for 62 yards, caught 2 passes for 44 yards, and then he leaves the game with a head injury. He's now in concussion protocol. Brandon Bolden ran 8 times for 54 yards, caught 2 passes for 27 yards. Kendrick Bourne caught 3 passes for 34 yards. They managed just 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits, but their secondary was lights out. Disguising Belichick he's a master. J.C. Jackson had 2 interceptions, returned 188 yards for the score. Jamie Collins also had a pick. Their defense held the Panthers to 65 yards in the first half. Damian Harris and Gunnar Olszewski, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I always mess it up. Left the game with a head injuries. They're both in concussion protocol. Tight end Jonnu Smith injured his shoulder in the second half. N'Keal Harry missed the game, questionable for this week. Are you surprised that the Browns have gone from -2.5 to -1.5 or -1? And was the Patriots victory, the Patriots becoming a good football team, or are the Panthers trash? Bebsie, take it away.
I think in this situation, both things can be true. I think the Panthers, at least the Panthers offensively, are trash. But I think the Patriots are settling into being a good football team. Listen, they were horrendous last year, but they had Cam Newton at the helm. They had the most players in the league opt out due to COVID. They went crazy in free agency, which is not a characteristic of the New England Patriots, but they have some playmakers on D. Matt Judon is one of the best defensive players in the NFL that nobody is talking about for whatever reason. So I do think New England's getting it together. Like this team reminds me very much of an early Tom Brady Patriots team. Like, they're just getting Mac Jones to play a simple game. They're letting their defense play great. And this team is getting better. But I also think the Panthers are a bit trash. The Browns, though, I get why this market is moving in their favor. I still if this was a month ago, the spread wouldn't even be close to favoring New England. The Browns were rolling. They looked fantastic. They have a fantastic run game with Chubb in or out. I don't think, Chubb, I think, is probably the best running back in the NFL right now, not named Derrick Henry. So obviously losing him is huge, but their offensive line is so talented. Their run game is so good that they are getting production from other guys right now. So I still like the Browns, but I do think New England's playing great football, and betting against them at home is a dangerous thing right now.
God, we are dealing with all these tricky COVID situations, and this is another one, and the market is throwing us for a loop here. I really don't. I mean, I guess there's a legitimate chance that the Browns get, either Chubb or Felton back. I mean, obviously Chubb is a big piece here. If, let's say that they get Chubb back for this game, if you knew Chubb was going to be in the lineup, I still think that the Pats are 1 or 1.5 point favorites here. Do you?
I don't want to. I know Dennis Garcia does, but I don't want to completely devalue the running back position when you're talking about elite running backs. And I believe Chubb is elite. I think he's fantastic. Chubb is an absolute monster back there. So I don't think you can dismiss what he can do. But again, they get production from other guys we've never heard of. Guys named DeErnest.
And Birdie says, I'll be betting the Pats here. The Pats defense quietly become the best unit in football. Bill Belichick with a great defense. Look out. I'm also looking at Pats for the division, and that's what Dennis Garcia's already done. Dennis, God, I love, he just doesn't want us to talk about running backs ever. Dennis Garcia came in and says, I got nothing. Said took New England at 16-1 to win the AFC last week. Would you pump the brakes on all this love for the Patriots possibly being a surprise look to move in the, move really profoundly in the playoffs?
Look, I agree with Birdie here. I think this Pats team is quietly getting very, very good, and it's very, very much like the Patriots 20 years ago. They've got an excellent defense that's kind of made up of not a ton of superstars, but just great role players. And you got a young quarterback that they're not asking much from. So they're really dangerous. The look I like in this game the most is the under, because I think it ends up being a dogfight in New England.
Why are you not on the Patriots right now?
I'm not on the Patriots right now because they are still – I believe in Bill Belichick. He's a winner. He's been here before. I still think this Patriots team, there's a lot of guys on the team who don't know how to be great yet. There are still some stars on that team from the past Patriots teams that are still, still going to be able to calm them down in tough games. But do I trust? I think here's my apprehension. I just love this Cleveland Browns run game so much. And when that offensive line is healthy, it's very hard for me to bet against them.
Dan Kelly says, in NFL history, 2 running backs had 5,000 rushing yards first 4 seasons and 5+ yards per carry. Chubb and Jim Brown. Jesus. And Jim Brown played in 12 games per season, 12. We have an update just in from our Jose Bouquet. Jose, you jump on for us?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump on. I didn't realize you guys wanted me to jump on, but yeah, sure. It's Odell, apparently, allegedly, is the Patriots are working hard to get him. So maybe we see that in the next coming days. The Packers are also a front runner with Odell, so who knows? But Patriots definitely in on Odell. They were in and got Antonio Brown. So this is kind of very Bill Belichickian recently. So maybe it goes to the Patriots. Who knows?
Bill Belichickian. Oh,
it makes sense. A lot of people said Green Bay, but the problem with Odell going to Green Bay is they have a number one receiver, and Odell wants to be the guy.
So you are looking at possibly moving on this under. It's climbing up right now. Open up 44.5, 45, and 45.5 are on the board. Again, when we look at the numbers, it's gone from 45 to 45.5. Yet 43% of tickets are on the under, 91% of cash is on the under. And then
I am going to move on this under because I think this winds up being a dogfight in New England.
All right. Well, there's a 45.5 available right now at Sports Interaction and Will Hill. So Bebsie is now on the board. Bebsie under 45.5. Sorry, under 45.5 minus 110. That's available. Will Hill. Yeah, I don't see why I don't move on the Patriots right now.
I just want to pocket QB Lamar Jackson saying Odell hasn't been the guy in 5 years. I completely agree. It's Odell that wants to be the guy. He still thinks he's the guy. And that's why he's no longer in Cleveland.
All right, Bebsie's on the board here on the under 45.5, and I don't see why I'm not on the Patriots right now, and I don't understand why it's gone in the Browns' direction, and it's continuing to do that. When did Pinnacle move this to 1? Pinnacle moved this to 1. Oh, so this. Wow. Okay, so Pinnacle moved this to 1 yesterday at 12:42 in the afternoon. So it was a huge move. So obviously they took a huge bet on the Browns. It went from 2.5 to 1. 2.5 to 1. So Cleveland dealing with all this COVID issue, you would think it'd be the opposite. Maybe I should sit back and think this over a little bit. And I guess I will. I guess I'll sit back and think this over a little bit. But and you know, I don't want to get too caught up because you also are saying that Panthers are trash. So let's not get too caught up in the Patriots win. But you know, they're stringing together victories right now. I guess this will take more time. And
they are, and at the risk of sounding cliche, they're doing it the Patriot way. This is classic Bill Belichick football. Your defense is dominating. Your offense is not making mistakes.
Let's roll on. Buffalo Bills at New York Jets. Bills 5-3, 2-2 on the road. Jets 2-6, 2-1 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the wind. Buffalo opening up as 13-point favorites. That opened up minus 105 at Pinnacle. It's now plus 101. 6-cent move towards the Jets. This total opened up at 48. All the other books have moved to 47.5. Pinnacle looks like they're going to do that. Initially, it was minus 106 to the over, minus 104 to the under. It's now minus 115 to the under, so an 11-cent move towards the under. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this spot. We have 2,837 tickets in, 63% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the Buffalo Bills. Then you have 50% of tickets and 83% of cash on the over. 83% of cash on the over, and yet the under is getting juiced. It's always interesting to decipher these market moves, and this one is tricky. And there are some people believe that these sites will give you that information on purpose to mess with you, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. But this one is tricky to decipher. Bills coming off an ugly 9-6 loss at Jacksonville. Josh Allen 31-47 for 264 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also ran 5 times for 50 yards, lost a fumble. Luckily, it wasn't 2 fumbles. It could have been, but that was a spot where they said that his progress was stopped, that second possible fumble. Bills finished with 301 yards, had 12 penalties for 118 yards. On that opening drive, they get to the Jags 6, and they have to settle for a field goal. Devin Singletary ran 6 times for 16 yards, also caught 7 passes for 43 yards. Zach Moss ran 3 times for 6 yards, caught 2 passes for 18 yards before leaving with a concussion. He's in protocol right now. Stephon Diggs caught 6 passes for 5 yards. Emmanuel Sanders caught 4 passes for 65 yards. Bills got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Not just Zach Moss, but also their quarterback, Taron Johnson, was ruled out with concussions. Both are in concussion protocol. Safety Jaquan Johnson left with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable this week. Offensive tackle Spencer Brown and tight end Dawson Knox. Knox still dealing with a hand injury. We're unavailable versus the Jags and are listed as questionable to go this week. Jags come in off extra rest and prep after a 45-30 loss at Indianapolis last Thursday. They were down 42-10 at one point. Talking about tricky things to decipher, I don't fully understand how to utilize the Jets and the Colts after what I saw. And I guess I'm not certain of what I saw, but I am going to move on the Colts first half. I don't know what to do with the Jets still. Mike White throws for 405 yards. He plays the next game. I think that he's not going to be able to throw any of these short passes. He's not able to throw the short passes. They don't look good. He goes 7 for 11 for 95 yards and a touchdown. Then Josh Johnson comes in and goes 27 for 41 for 317 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick in 18 minutes. It's just nuts. First TD throw since December 22nd, 2018. Elijah Moore caught 7 passes for 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keelan Cole caught 5 passes for 66 yards. Michael Carter ran 30 times for 49 yards, caught a pass for 37 yards. His streak of 2 straight games with 100-plus yards from scrimmage ended. Ty Johnson ran 4 times for 21 yards, caught 2 passes for 40 yards, lost a fumble. They were incapable of sustaining any pressure. They were gashed for 260 yards on the ground. So the Bills may not have Zach Moss. Are they still capable with just Devin Singletary to gash these Jets on the ground? Is a very important question to answer. Indy averaged 8.7 yards per carry against these ass clowns. They finished with just 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. Salah said that he expects White and Zach Wilson to both practice this week. Tyler Kroft had a chest injury in the game. Their tight end now placed on IR. Marcus May, who they were so excited about coming back, Achilles tendon injury. He's done for the year. Corey Davis, hamstring, set out for his 2nd straight game. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and running back Tevin Coleman were unavailable last week. Listed as questionable this week. Here we go, Bebsie. Bills bounce back spot. Do you want them as 13-point favorites?
I don't want them as 13-point favorites, but I do want them as first half because I believe I can still get them at 6.5 in the first half. I do think they bounce back. They come out strong, even though they're facing the New York Jets and the best quarterback in the NFL, Mike White, will be healthy and ready to go. Look, I don't think they're going to be able to gash this Jets defense because they don't. The only team in the league that has a worse running game than them is Miami. Neither of these teams ever. Zach Moss doesn't matter. He's no better than Devin Singletary. Neither of them are good. Neither of them are capable of putting up any kind of numbers. Your run game has to come primarily from Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen bounces back this week. I think the Bills bounce back. And look, the Bills defense is still fantastic. It's going to be really, really tough for Mike White to move the ball against them. I know he's a phenom. He's incredible. Zach Wilson is a thing of the past. Mike White, MVP candidate, possibly Hall of Fame after just the next couple of weeks. But I still just think the Bills are too they're too nasty of a team to come out flat in back-to-back weeks. So I am going to go back to that, take that first half. But you know, the Jets can hang.
Bills minus 6.5, minus 108 at Pinnacle. Interesting. I find that it is a fascinating spread. You would think that a team that's a 13-point favorite, that the books would be afraid to put it at a touchdown or less. Yet they don't seem to be afraid. Who are the Bills moving forward? You know, it's funny that I took the Packers to win the division, but I didn't bet the Bills alone to win the division. I made a small bet on the Packers to win the division, and I parlayed it with the Bills, but that was smaller. My main bet was on the Packers to win the division. And for whatever reason, I wasn't sure what we were going to get from the Bills this year when other people were so confident. And the Bills moved to minus 163 to win the division. And I knew a lot of people thinking that was a bargain. At this point, the Bills are sitting here at 5-3, 2-2 on the road. I mean, what are your expectations of this team moving forward? Are you confident that they could right the ship, win the division, and make a run through the AFC?
They've got the Patriots, nipping at their heels now, which I think puts a little pressure on them, but also could light a fire. I still think talent-wise, they have a great offensive line. They have great receivers. I know Birdie said he thinks Josh Allen's going to regress. I mean, I don't want to use the term regress because, he had an MVP caliber season last year. So, yes, some guys don't have that great of a season every year. I still think he's a very capable quarterback with weapons. They could really use to have a run game. Whatever pick they have in the first round next year should go to a damn running back. But somebody just posted, Pocket QB Lamar Jackson posted that they've scored 3 points in the first half in the last 2 games. True, but they were the number 1 first half team in the NFL leading up to those last 2 games. So I think that's the real Bills. I think you've had a couple of bad weeks, and this is a get right spot for them. I believe in the Bills. I think, and this is not a lot of Canadian football fans who live in Southern Ontario love the Bills. They're the closest team geographically to us. I'm indifferent to the Bills. I just think they're good.
Oh, that's a fascinating breakdown from the guys. Dennis Garcia says, I'm sure everyone will bet Buffalo off a loss to destroy the Jets. I made the game 8.5, so unfortunately, I'm betting the Jets. Dennis Trusty says, Bills are getting lazy. I was on them last week, had the balls to go on Jimmy's Sunday show and take the Bills, minus 14.5, and go 1-2. Huh. Jose, will you be betting the Jets this week?
I bet the Jets every week, spreading money.
Jesus.
Every week, no matter what.
All right.
And by the way, Bebsie, if it makes you feel better, the Jets have scored 2 first-quarter touchdowns this year, both with Mike White.
I think he's the greatest quarterback of all time. There, I said it.
If he was an actual starting quarterback, I was like, maybe we could start another Many Faces of Mike White, but unfortunately, his time is over after next week.
Bills minus 6.5, minus 108. Bills first half minus 6.5, minus 108 at Pinnacle. There is something really fishy about the books leaving this first half under 7, and I. Not sure what the hell to do with it. Let's move on. But if I give you a free $500 bet here on the total, open up 48, now 47.5, what do you do?
I would take the over because I believe the Bills go on a run, and Dan Kelly has made an excellent point. That's it. Or with the year Bebsie's having, I'm on the Jets money line. I respect that, Dan Kelly. I think you should all do that. Everyone listening right now should do that. I think this will end up being a high score affair. So free bet, I would put it on the over.
There is my guy, Robert Allen. Great to see you, Robert, my man. New job, so he's not available to hang with us as much. Birdie says Allen is a career 56% completion quarterback, both in NFL and college. He had a career year with no fans. He's showing us he is what his career numbers say he is. Ooh-wee. All right. Let's roll on. Cabby coming off a nice start in NCAA basketball. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Lions 0-8, 0-4 on the road. The Pittsburgh Steelers 5-3, 3-2 at home. We're at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 40 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 10 miles per hour is the wind. My first instinct, once I got, this was coming off a weekend of the Breeders' Cup and spectacular horse racing and I didn't get to NFL as early as I wanted to. Detroit opening up as 9-point dogs at Pinnacle. They're still 9-point dogs everywhere, except for Bet365. That was 8.5. If it was 9, I probably would have bet Detroit today. And I still might. But the fact that it already moved to 8.5, I was like, okay, well, there's no rush here. Let's talk it out with everybody. So that's the situation. 9 everywhere, 8.5 at 8.5 at Bet365. This total opening up at 43. It was slightly juiced. It was minus 106 to the under, minus 104 to the over. At Pinnacle, it's now minus 115 to the under. So a 9-cent move towards the under. When we go over to where the cash flow lies in this spot, we have 2,988 tickets in. 39% of the tickets, 39, are on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and 99% of the cash on the Steelers. So a giant bet is being made on the Steelers, and again, there was a reason to pause and talk it out with you guys. Then 43% of tickets on the over, 93% of cash on the over. It's a bit befuddling. Lions coming off their bye week. We last saw them in an extremely ugly 44-6 loss at home to the Eagles in week 8. They avoided a shutout when Jamar Jefferson scored an 8-yard touchdown run, his first NFL touchdown. Goff was sacked 5 times. It's been a problem all year. Taylor Decker out for the season with a finger injury. And it sounds like he might be back. They took him off injured reserve. It sounds like Taylor Decker might be back. You know, obviously losing Frank Ragnow, their Pro Bowl center, is a part of that. But it's as bad as the offensive line has looked. So Drew Stanton is telling everybody that the organization and the players and everybody still believes in Campbell. And I believe that. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't at this point. DeAndre Swift leads all NFL running backs with 47 receptions, ranked second with 415 yards receiving, and has scored 5 touchdowns. So that's more than double of anybody else on the Lions. He's been very good. Khalif Raymond has gone from being a cast-off that nobody wants to being the top guy for the Lions. Is that a sign that the Lions are a terrible football team? Maybe. They can't throw deep, so clearly it's a problem. Goff averaging 9.7 yards per completion. That's 31st. He's tied for 31st in the NFL. Romeo Okwara, Jeff Okudah, the fact that they've been hurt has hurt this team badly. They're hoping that Jamal Williams and A.J. Parker, running back, cornerback respectively, might be able to come back. Let's start with the Detroit Lions before we get into the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know the Pittsburgh Steelers are an enormous part of this puzzle, but what are your expectations of the Lions coming out of the bye?
Look, they got a rookie coach. They've got a quarterback that's been cast aside, a former number 1 overall pick. They had a team with not a ton of talent to start the season that have lost a bunch of their best players in Ragnow. I think they've lost now their top 3 corners. As much as I want to get on the Detroit train, coming out of the bye, believing in their coach, you know, again, there's not a ton of pressure. I mean, there is still a bit of pressure because you don't want to go 0-17. They already have the 0-16 distinction, so they do have to get a W. Now looking at the second half of the season to do it, I just don't know how you can lay money with Detroit at this point. They're 0-8 for a reason. They have a boatload of injuries. And it's one thing to say, you know, we haven't lost faith in the coach, but I don't know, some of them might have. I know there's got to be guys in that locker room who are thinking about getting out of the season healthy now because it's over. They got contract years. Like I've said this before. I said this on the show a bunch last year. I don't think any player gives up. Very few players do that. These guys are competitive. They're in the NFL because they have that competitive edge. So I'm not saying they're going to dog it. I'm just saying it's a really, really hard team to lay money on. Even with points. I mean, 9 points is a lot to put in the Steelers' hands because they're 5-3, but do they feel like a 5-3 football team? Have they had convincing wins? No, and they're also dealing with their fair share of injuries as well. But I pity Goff this week going against the absolute animal TJ Watt. The only thing I'm kind of interested in this game is the over, and I want to bet the over just because my gut says over, but then I start looking at these teams and who's going to put up the points. Big Ben can't push the ball downfield. Jared Goff is Jared Goff. There's nothing for me in this game.
Let's talk about the Steelers here before I move on the Lions. If I move on the Lions. Steelers on a short week after their 29-27 win in last night's Monday Nighter. Big Ben, 21 of 30 for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Everybody joining us, it means so much to us. Thank you guys, man. Christopher Comentini, pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson, Harold Williams, Robert Allen, and we have Dutch Boy Fresh, our NBA expert on betting with the bag. Terry Walker, thank you. Mad Capper saying Lions money line. Najee Harris ran 22 times for 62 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 passes for 30 yards. He has TDs in 5 straight games. Deontay Johnson caught 5 passes for 56 yards. Pat Freiermuth caught 5 passes for 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. As Bebsie was saying, TJ Watt was spectacular as always. 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 pass defended. Now is 11.5 sacks on the year. Cameron Hayward was excellent. 3 quarterback hits, 1 interception. This is where it starts getting touchy. Now, we know that TJ Watt, he can keep going. But a lot of these guys seem to be injury prone. This is a short week against a team coming off a bye. Cameron Hayward had 3 quarterback hits and an interception. He hurt his ankle. He's listed as questionable. I expect him to go. Chase Claypool, evaluated for an ankle injury. He's questionable. Spillane, ankle injury. He's listed as questionable. Now, they expect to get Ebron back. He'll help offensively. Boswell looks, in the zone after that concussion. And he looks like they love him, after taking the concussion, coming back, and they just, and picking up that fumble. They love the guy. But do you think this Steelers team that, deal with injuries, battle with injuries, are good enough to come back in 6 days and still, show out defensively? I'm not talking about offense. I'm talking about defensively.
Yeah, because I think that defense is still full of monsters. Watt leading the helm, but I think Cam Hayward's a beast too. And they're also facing the Detroit Lions, man. Like, this is, yes, Robert Allen, completely agree. Cam Hayward is an absolute unit. But there's nobody who really, outside of DeAndre Swift, there's nobody who really scares me on Detroit's offense. So I think Pittsburgh's well adept at being able to shut down one guy. So then that ball goes into Goff's hands, and what do we think Goff can do?
I think that Campbell's going to have a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He saw what he's capable as a coach in that game against the Rams. I want the Lions. The question is, will I get a better line if I wait? And I know that we're sitting here right now early with this huge bet placed on the Steelers, but I don't want this veteran team on a short week against the for team coming out of their bye. I guess I just had to talk all this out loud. It sucks that I have to deal with an 8.5. That's fucking annoying, but it's the situation. 8.5. God damn, it sucks. I'm going to move on the Detroit Lions. I'm moving on the Lions here after the show today. I just think they can keep this game close. And it sounds like they still got fight in them.
But I said my gut wants the over in this, but my brain screams under. And I'm just trying to think of who gets the points.
Well, Mad Capper says I'm not even going to need them. They're going to cash the money line. My guy Mad Capper in the house. Ours says Hawkinson, Swift, all they have.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot Hawkinson. I'm a big Hawkinson fan. I don't know
Burgundy
why.
says, why do you want the Lions on the road? I want the Lions on the road because they're coming off a bye. I see them as still being a hungry team. I see them getting healthier. And I don't think the Steelers are very good. I don't. I was on the Bears plus 6.5 with a lot of confidence, and that sat all week. And it's not because I think the Bears are a good team. I still remember what the Bears looked like on the road in that loss to the Buccaneers. I still remember what the Bears looked like at home against the Niners, and I was confident in them. They're down 14-3 at the half. I believe it was 14-3 at the half, and I was still very confident in the second half. I don't think the Steelers are very good. TJ Watt's spectacular, but I'm not afraid of their offense, and I don't think they have that quick strike man. Look, if Chase Claypool is not available, they don't really have a deep threat. So, yeah, that's why I'm going to take the Lions on the road here.
Bebsie, they buried the game film. Bebsie, did you hear me? They buried the game film from their last game. They're locked, dude.
Well, there you have it. Jose has spoken.
There's the Oracle. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-2, 2-2 on the road at the Washington football team, 2-6, 1-3 at home. FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, 50 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Very tricky situation here with both teams coming off their bye. Both teams coming off their bye week. Bucks open up as 10-point favorites. That's moved to 9.5 at Will Hill and Bet365. This total was initially juiced to the under 51.5. Pinnacle's moved it to 51. The other books haven't followed suit. They're still at a 51.5. Pick them. When we come here to the cash flow, 3,757 tickets in, 85% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on the Buccaneers. 62% of tickets, 68% of cash on the under, but it seems like Pinnacle's the only one focusing on that shit. Buccaneers coming off their bye week, last seen an ugly 36-27 loss of the Saints with Trevor Siemian beating them. Brady threw for 4 touchdowns, but he also turned the ball over 3 times with 2 picks and a fumble. Saints turned those turnovers into 16 points. Godwin had a monster day, 8 catches for 144 yards. But the Saints rushed for 152 yards against Tampa's top-ranked run defense. They came in allowing just 67.4 yards per game. They sacked Brady 3 times. Can that all get shored up off of a bye? That's for the Cappers to decide. Now let's talk about what has worked and what's not worked for the Buccaneers coming in off their bye. Brady is a beast. Leading the league with 25 touchdown passes, second with 2,650 yards in 8 games. Last year, they dropped 3 of 4 coming into their bye week and then came back and went 8-0 down the stretch. 3 road playoff wins, Super Bowl trophy. Feels similar. I made a big bet on their over 11.5 wins. I just checked today. I was curious what it's at 12.5 right now. If you want to bet now, minus 160 to the over. Now I get it on these future bets. You know, Brady goes down and the bet's in jeopardy. It's not a fun place to be in, but I'm happy that the situation is where it is. So Tampa Bay off last week, while 4 NFC playoff contenders, the Rams, Packers, Saints, and Cowboys all lost. So let's go to the if situation. If Sean Murphy, Bunting, these are all cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and Richard Sherman eventually return, and I'll look into exactly when in the second here, then clearly they're not going to get burnt by Trevor Siemian. The Bucs at this point have 17 sacks. Last year they finished with 48. That was the 4th highest total in the league. They're not getting pressure. There's some real issues with this Bucs team, but goddamn, we were here last year in the same situation. Before we get into Washington football team, talk about your expectations of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving into the second half of the season, Bebsie.
Well, I mean,
You're muted, my man.
Look, they're the defending.
You're good.
They're the defending Super Bowl champions, so you have to expect them to continue to be good, to continue to put up wins, but they have not been very good on the road. And I know that they're coming off a bye, but I just don't trust them on the road. So I expect them to win games, and I expect them to win this game. And they're come playoff time, they're going to be in a great spot, probably in one of the top seeds. I just don't. They've been terrible on the road. They've been brutal. So I personally am going to wait because I think the public will be heavy on the Bucs, and I think this line moves even a little bit more. And I'm probably going to bet Washington come Sunday.
Don Mack saying Logan Thomas should be back for what it's worth. Brady says, when was the last time the Bucs scorched anyone on the road? And shout out to Rocky Manichetti. Thank you for the kind words. My guy Rocky had my back since day one. So it's been 5 years rolling with Rocky, and he hung out with us in Vegas, and I love the guy. All right. I agree. But I agree with the chat that, God damn, I wish I didn't have to back Heineke. Washington comes in off their bye week. Last seen ugly 17-10 loss at Denver. Heineke, 24-39, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Fitzpatrick still dealing with the hip injury. And there have been a ton of injury issues that have affected Heineke, and I'm looking forward to hear your take on all this. So right tackle Sam Cosmi missed 3 games with an ankle injury. Right guard Brandon Scherf has missed 4 games with a knee injury. Center Chase Roulier was ruled out for the season with a fractured fibula after that Week 8 loss to Denver. Curtis Samuel's dealing with a groin injury. Cam Sims hamstring. Jami Brown knee. Antonio Gibson's had a shin injury. Logan Thomas, who was such a monster last year, has been out as well. So there's from the offense side of thing. From the defensive side of thing, this defensive line's recorded a pressure rate of 5.7%. They've allowed a league-high 52 explosive pass plays. The pass plays are 16 yards or more. William Jackson's not looked good. Jamin Davis, first-round pick linebacker, does not look good. I mean, who has looked good here defensively from Washington? What are your expectations of them in the second half? Can they turn it around? And I know you want to turn it around a year. Take it away.
I mean, Heineke's taking it on the chin right now. And, I guess this fairy tale story of him coming back is probably going to end before it takes off the ground. Robert Allen saying Heineke, worst QB in the NFL. Ooh, it's hard to argue with it right now. He is not playing well. He does not look good. This team has been very underwhelming. They've underachieved their defense. All anybody could talk about this offseason was how dangerous this front seven was, and they have all but disappeared. I don't have high expectations for them. I do think Logan Thomas coming back will help. I think he at least gives another solid pass catching option outside of Terry McLaurin. I think they're going to sputter. I think, Heineke's probably not going to stick around too much longer. And I also think maybe Ron Rivera should move on. No disrespect to Riverboat Ron, but I just think the game maybe has passed him by, and he just doesn't strike me as a coach who's getting the best out of his players. So I don't have much of an expectation of them going forward. I think you wind up with a top 10 pick with this football team by the end of the season. But now that I'm saying it out loud, they'll probably go on an 8-game winning streak. So whatever you do.
You mean Rivera to move on to a different job, not to to go to heaven or wherever it is that you go when you die.
Yeah, why would I wish him to die? I just don't think he should be an NFL coach anymore.
Okay, all right. And you're saying that while wanting Washington in this spot, you want to wait for a better number.
Yeah, because I think everyone's going to be hammering the Bucks, and we're already seeing it in the chat. Like a lot of people are high on the Bucks, but the Bucks have been terrible on the road, and I think this number is going to get high enough that Washington's going to be able to stick around.
Now, a lot of talk in the chat about the situation in the Green Bay game, and in that Green Bay game, I was on Washington, and when Heineke didn't get over that goal line, that's as angry as I've been all year. That's the single most angry spot I've had. I'm just going over now. I just couldn't imagine such a bitch move. It's the biggest little bitch move I think I've seen all year. And it's still sticking with me. But I agree. I think the Washington is the only look here. It'll be interesting to see how high this goes up. This total here, let's put it at 51.5. If you have a free bet here, you take the total over or the under?
I think I take the total under because you expect Tampa to be the high-scoring team. But again, Tampa on the road, not too excited about what they can do. So free play under.
Okay, interesting. So keep your ear to the streets, as I will, for when Bebsie makes a move on Washington. I agree with the look at this point, but I'm going to need more time to break it down. Those are your 1 p.m. games. Let's move on to 4 p.m. action. And this one is wild. Carolina Panthers, 4-5, 2-2 on the road to Arizona Cardinals, 8-1, 3-1 at home. We're at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. We have Arizona opening up as 10-point favorites. It's moved to 10.5 at Bet365. This total at 44.5 is there, but Bet365 has moved it to 44. So then we have the cash flow in this spot. 2,925 tickets in. 68% of the tickets on Arizona, 85% of the cash, 67% of tickets on the over, and we're not sure what the cash is at this point. Not enough tickets in. Panthers coming off an ugly 24-6 home loss at the hands of the Patriots, held to 65 yards in the first half. Darnold just looked awful, and it was a late bet that I made. It's funny, I had 3 spots I was going to move on, add Giants, the over in the Vikings game, and the Panthers. And I only moved on one in the Panthers, and very, very irritating. And I know what it's going to do. It's going to stop me from moving on anything come this Sunday before the game. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want that shit to get in my head. Darnold's listed as day-to-day with a shoulder injury right now. He was 16-33 for 172 yards and 3 interceptions. Also lost a fumble. Look, they lose Matt Paradis and left tackle Cameron Irving to injuries in the first half. Clearly, that was part of it. And Paradis right now, yes.
Jim, here's an update, some breaking news. This is where the news drop starts. Sam Darnold's fractured shoulder out for several weeks.
Look at that. So P.J. Walker will be that's why we have Jose back there. It's good that he's come out of the sleeping bag and turned the light on. So this is all coming together. Just gave me a thumbs up. So Walker in. Christian McCaffrey comes back with 14 carries for 52 yards, caught 4 passes for 54 yards, and nobody else did anything. Maybe this is a good thing for Rule because DJ Moore caught 3 passes for 32 yards. Robbie Anderson caught 1 pass for 2 yards. Robbie Anderson, laid into him on the sidelines. It was ugly, all ugly. So maybe it's good to get Walker in there. Jeremy Chin had 11 tackles, 2 for losses, but they couldn't get any pressure. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Stephon Gilmore did get an interception for 13 yards. Burns injured his right ankle late in the fourth quarter, did not return. He's listed as questionable. Rashawn Melvin also day-to-day. And Cameron Irving, as I said, placed on the IR. So let's go into the Cardinals here. An impressive 31-17 win at San Francisco with Colt McCoy as quarterback. They beat the Niners easily without Kyler Murray, without DeAndre Hopkins or A.J. Green. They lose Chase Edmonds in the first quarter. McCoy was 22 of 26 for 249 yards and a touchdown. Kirk caught 6 passes for 91 yards, but it was James Conner that was just a monster. Runs 21 times for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. Catches 5 passes for 77 yards, a touchdown. Marcus Golden had 3 sacks. Budda Baker had an interception. So at this point, you have Aaron Brewer going to miss a couple weeks with a hand injury. You have Chase Edmonds undergoing the MRI for the high ankle sprain, doubtful. You have David Wells with another, tight end with a hand injury, questionable. And last week before the game, they put Rashard Lawrence and, of course, A.J. Watt on the injured reserve. And A.J. Green is still in concussion protocol. We don't know what's going on with him. Max Garcia aggregated his Achilles injury, so he is doubtful, their guard. And then James Wiggins, their safety, Jonathan Ward, running back, Kyler Murray, quarterback, and DeAndre Hopkins out last week and questionable this week. Here we go. Jason Hall says over. And Prince of the City says, are you drunk? PJ Walker played at Temple, another bum team from Philly. Dennis Garcia says McCaffrey at 3.7 yards per carry. He didn't do anything either. Burgundy Bets likes the McCaffrey over rushing yards. Terry Walker says possible over. Jason Hall loves the over. Here we go. Take it away. Break it down. Panthers Cardinals.
Well, I hate to agree with Prince of the City, but we've seen PJ Walker pop in. He's not an improvement over Sam Darnold, so that area doesn't get better. The injury to Brian Burns is huge, and it looks like he's probably not going to play. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Look, the Arizona Cardinals went in and embarrassed the 49ers in a game that the Niners had to win. And they did it without Hopkins. They did it without Kyler Murray. I personally think Christian Kirk is a better receiver than A.J. Green right now. So I think, if anything, that was probably better to get Kirk in the game a little bit more. But look, one team is rolling, and the other team is sputtering. And after that win last week, I really thought this was a possible chance for the Cardinals to go a-tumbling. But the way they played last week really the Niners made James Conner look like Barry Sanders, for God's sake. He was chewing them up. It didn't even look like they were trying to tackle him. Carolina's going to put up a better fight defensively. Conner is not going to have the game he had last week. I can't bet against the Cardinals in this game, especially with PJ Walker coming in and taking this team over.
Yeah, I hear you. So are we expecting confident that Kyler Murray is going to be back behind center?
I don't know if we're confident in that. If you're worried about him, I rest him another week because Colt McCoy played great. Colt McCoy looked like he was in control of this offense. And I don't know. I think Kyler Murray is very good. I don't put him. Everyone's got him in this elite category, and I don't have him there yet. I think he's a tremendous athlete. He's a lot of fun to watch. I just don't think he's quite there yet.
Well, after the Cardinals were spectacular against the Niners, with Colt McCoy as a quarterback, I wonder if their rhythm changes a little awkwardly at first with Kyler Murray. I've got to study this more now that we got the information that Walker is going to be the quarterback and Sam Darnold with a fractured shoulder out for a while. So this game's going to take more study for me at this point. We will talk about it more. Let's move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Vikings 3-5, 1-3 on the road at Los Angeles Chargers 5-3, 2-2 at home. SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. And Prince of the City says that the Sixers are about to lose. Make sure that I better fucking cover this. 6 points on the fucking Bucks. Okay, sorry about that. Vikings, Chargers. Let's take a look at the market and see what we are dealing with, and then take a look at the cash here with the Chargers spot. Chargers open up as 2.5-point favorites. It's where it stands right now. Bodog has moved to 3 of the plus line. It's funny that Bodog's moved to 3 because Pinnacle's had a 1 cent move to the Vikings. This total was originally juiced to the under 52.5. Almost all the books are at 52 minus 110. Pinnacle's moved the juice to the over, and Bodog's gone ahead and moved it to 53. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with the cash in this spot. We have 2,320 tickets in. 54% of the tickets are on the Chargers and 99% of the cash. Wow. 43% of tickets on the under and 82% of the cash on the under. Cashed on both these teams last week. Vikings coming in off a tough 34-31 overtime loss at Baltimore. Vikings have not dropped a game all season by more than 7 points. After halftime, they managed 114 yards, and the stats were nuts in this game. The Ravens had a 36-13 edge in first downs, controlled the ball for 46 minutes and 4 seconds to Minnesota's 23-40. Kirk Cousins, 17-28 for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Justin Jefferson caught 3 passes for 69 yards. Conklin caught 5 for 45. Dalvin Cook ran 17 times for 110 yards. Sheldon Richardson was a beast, 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. As a team, they registered 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Cameron Bynum and Anthony Barr both had interceptions. Minnesota missing defensive tackle Michael Pierce. He's listed as questionable this week. Brashad Breeland, their cornerback, went down the second quarter. He's listed as questionable. Safety Harrison Smith, by the way, who was put on the COVID list before the game, he's going to be out this week too. Linebacker Ryan Connolly and center Garrett Bradbury are also on the COVID list, and BZ Johnson was placed on IR today. And as you guys know, Daniil Hunter done for the season. Chargers coming off a big 27-24 win at Philadelphia to snap a 2-game losing streak. Justin Herbert, 32-38 for 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And it's the Eagles. And we'll get into the Eagles next game, but it's not Herbert. Herbert's good, but Herbert's the 5th quarterback this season to go complete more than 80% of his passes against the Eagles. Their secondary is just so weak. In losses to Baltimore and New England the previous 2 games, Herbert was 40 of 74 for 418 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. First time in his 2-year career, 2 straight games with a pass rating under 70, he gets a chance to go up against this Eagles secondary and just shits all over them. Keenan Allen caught 12 passes for 104 yards. Mike Williams caught 2 for 58. Austin Eckler ran 17 times for 59 yards, caught 3 passes for 23. They couldn't dial up pressure, which was strange. Neither team could. The Chargers had 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits. And then this Chargers run defense is absolutely atrocious. Eagles had no problem doing whatever they wanted. 176 yards rushing, 62 from Hurts. Bosa sacked Hurts. It was the only sack they had, and he did it without touching him. Chargers cornerback Ryan Smith got hurt in the 4th quarter. Asante Samuel, concussion. Michael Davis, hamstring, were inactive. Asante Samuel, Justin Jackson, Michael Davis are all questionable at this point. Ryan Smith has a torn ACL, so they lose a cornerback there. He's done for the season. You know, we were on the Chargers last week just because they were the better team. And what I saw did not give me a lot of confidence. I'm very interested to see what you are doing here. Vikings, Chargers, take it away.
I'll say this off the top because I'm not going to move on the Vikings. But if I did have a free play on the spread, I would take the Vikings. I really like the Chargers. I want the Chargers to do well. But I'm with you, Jimmy, when I say they haven't impressed me when they need to, and they've let me down in a lot of spots already this year. What I am comfortable in this game is I'm going to take this over because I think both offenses, again, capable of putting up points in bunches, and I don't think either defense is particularly well matched to stop the other team's offense. You got weak cornerback play for Minnesota. You've got a weak run defense and pass rush with the Chargers. So I see points galore. Again, free play Vikings. I still think the Chargers should come out on top. But the Vikings, again, they are a bit better than that 3-5 record. The football fan in me is rooting for the Chargers to win this game. I really do. I want to turn that corner and be good. But I love the over in this. So that is going to be my move in this game.
So Dalvin Cook is going to tear up the Chargers, I guess would be the estimation here. What about this Vikings offense? Other than the fact that the Chargers can't stop the run, what do you think of Cousins and Jefferson and Conk? I mean, it doesn't look, I mean, Thielen caught 6. I mean, they got completely dominated. It was the Ravens were making terrible mistakes for the Vikings to put up that score. So what is it about the Vikings offense that has you confident enough that they're going to put up a lot of points to get to this 53?
There's too much talent between Thielen, Jefferson, and Cook and Cousins to not put up points. Jefferson's not having the season he was in his rookie year, but I mean that was a pretty ridiculous rookie season. Thielen, I might go right back to that receiving yards well this weekend because he's not going to have 6 yards again this weekend. Maybe the books will, soften that number up even a little bit better. But I look, there's still a ton of talent there, and you don't keep them down forever. And this Chargers defense is probably going to get gashed on the ground, and that's going to open up that passing game.
I have another update for you.
Oh, beautiful.
This one's a somber update.
Rivera?
No, he's not dead yet, unfortunately. Jimmy's hit has not gotten to him yet. But
look, I don't want him to die. Why is this just
No, you basically wished death upon him earlier.
That's kind of what it felt like, Jimmy.
No, yeah. Jesus. No, it was a confusing statement that Bebsie made.
You basically said, Bebsie, I want Ron Rivera to die. Do you?
Bebsie said, I want Rivera to move on.
Yeah, I don't think he's an NFL caliber coach anymore. I don't know why you went death. That's so weird. Why would I not like Ron?
All right.
You hate
what
gambling?
has Ron Rivera done to me? Matt Nagy, on the other hand.
You're right. That's facts. But here's my somber update.
Sure.
Dalvin Cook allegedly earlier reported he was a victim of a domestic assault. Now Adam Schefter is reporting that allegedly he assaulted his ex-girlfriend. So now we're in a back and forth that way. So it is, I wouldn't say likely, but it is possible that we don't see Dalvin Cook suit up and we see a lot of Alexander Madison. So there's your update.
Wow. See, that's the thing. If Dalvin Cook got one punched by his girlfriend, we'd all say, man, the restraint that he had, this guy. But if he lays one finger on a girl, who cares if he gets punched first? He's in wow. So now with Dalvin Cook.
Careful, Jimmy.
Well, no, I think so. I think that you take a shot from your girl. The only thing that you can do is put a couple bruises on her wrist from holding her down. You can't do anything else. If you do anything else, you go directly to jail. You don't collect $200. Do you see it differently?
Yeah, I don't think you should hit women. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And he's, if you get punched in the face by your girlfriend and you say, look, I don't think that's I mean, you probably shouldn't report it or whatever, but I don't think that's if he did anything, it doesn't matter if he got hit first, he's going to be in big, big trouble and won't be playing. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I was worried that you were, roundabout way condoning violence.
No, just because of the Rivera thing.
I just had to check.
Jesus.
I was worried there, but I was like, I might have to politely step away from this show.
What is going on right now? What is happening on this program?
I don't know. It's getting weird, man.
Christopher Comentini says, if a woman puts hands on you, you can defend yourself. You can hold their arms. But that's it. That's it. That will always be it. So if Dalvin Cook is not in the lineup,
he's playing.
Oh, man. So Dennis Garcia's already moved on the Chargers. We took the Chargers over the Eagles because they were simply a better team. That was it. That was the only we didn't care that they were playing on the Eastern Seaboard. We didn't care about any of that. Wouldn't you say the same thing applies here if the spread's under 3? They're simply a better team than the Vikings?
I do think that they're a better team than the Vikings. I just meant that when they have had opportunities to really put them on that other level, I haven't seen it yet. And this isn't going to be an easy football game for them. The Vikings have fight in them. The Vikings have some talent in them. Yeah, there's some injuries on defense that you worry about. Again, this just leads to my over. The over is the play in this.
All right, well, let's line shop right now for Bebsie. He's on the over. We're getting a 52.5. There's a 52.5 at minus. There's a 52 at Will Hill. Let me just make sure it's not a stale line. I'll have to double check that, but we have an over 52 for Bebsie. Over 52 at minus 110 available at Will Hill. Will Hill. See, I mean, like when it comes to an assault case with a girlfriend, it's the same thing as a senior citizen. Women should be treated the same way as a senior citizen. That's the way I see it. Do you agree with that analogy, Bebsie?
I just wanted to make sure that you weren't saying something that would upset me.
Why would I was saying that you can't hit back ever and that Dalvin Cook is going to be in trouble. It doesn't matter if you get punched first.
And I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. It's just you were using some bizarre language initially that I was like, wait, where is he going with? I was worried.
I don't think so. I think it's the Rivera shit.
That would make me have to quit the show.
It's the Rivera shit that fucked your head up. I think that's it because I don't think there was anything unclear.
Yeah, I kind of regret telling you guys now. I kind of regret. I didn't know that this would just turn into a 20-minute discussion on domestic violence.
We move on to Eagles Broncos, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Eagles 3-6, 3-2 on the road. And by the way, I think I'm going to move on the Chargers here. I think they can take care of business at home. They haven't been very good at home. I get that, but if it's under a field goal, Okay, let's move on. Philadelphia Eagles at Denver Broncos. Empire Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. We have Philly opening up as 2.5-point dogs. Bodog has moved it to 3, but they're the only book who has. The total opened up at 45. It's now 44. Slatsy says, Bebsie, Jimmy hasn't slept in 3 days. It's actually longer than that. Let's take a look where the cash lies here. We have 2,105 tickets in. 60% of the tickets on Denver, 77% of the cash on them. 54% of the tickets are on the over. We don't know the cash flow at this point. Eagles come in off their 27-24 home loss to the Chargers. Jalen Hurts was 11 for 27 for 162 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Devonta Smith caught 5 passes for 116 yards. Only 4 players caught passes for the Eagles. It feels to me like this is a pretty easy team to prepare for. Then they took advantage of the NFL's worst run defense, 176 yards rushing. TJ Edwards had 12 tackles, but the Eagles got no pressure on Herbert. 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits. As I said, he's the 5th quarterback to complete more than 80% of his passes against the Eagles. Dak, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Derek Carr are the others. Eagles still haven't won a game in 4 tries at home under Nick Sirianni. Darius Slay has a hamstring injury. He left in the 4th quarter, and Avonte Maddox, knee injury, didn't finish the game. So we're already talking about how bad this secondary is, and now they have these 2 guys hurt. So at this point right now, there's no update. I guess the only good thing is that Maddox isn't on the injury report. Broncos are rolling. They try to go 3 for 3 in consecutive weeks against the NFC East. Already took care of Washington, Dallas. Now they get Philly. Coming off a big 30-16 win at Dallas, they were up 30-0 at one point in the fourth. First game since trading star pass rusher Von Miller, and it was perfect. So they had no Malik Reed. He was inactive. They had no Von Miller, and we capped that very well. They shut down the Cowboys, and the under hit, the Broncos hit. They stepped up, with these big pieces out. Now, will they be able to do it 2 games in a row? That's for us to decipher here. Cowboys got too late. It was going to be their worst shutout at home since 1985. Held the Cowboys to 0-4 on fourth down. But they have so many injuries, and this is probably a good point to not buy in on them. They had left tackle Garrett Bowles, ankle injury. He's questionable to go this week. They lost right tackle Bobby Massey and right guard Graham Glasgow to ankle injuries. Glasgow was taken off a cart with an air cast. He's out indefinitely. Massey's week to week. I mean, this is bad. Bridgewater, 19-28 for 249 yards, 1 touchdown. Tim Patrick caught 4 passes for 85 yards, touchdown. So he was helped off the field after an incompletion in the third quarter. Jerry Jeudy caught 6 passes for 69 yards. Javonte Williams continued his great season, 17 carries for 111 yards. Melvin Gordon ran 21 times for 80 yards. They got 2 sacks, both by Jonathan Cooper for his first NFL sacks, got 7 quarterback hits. Caden Stearns got an interception. McTelvin Agim didn't return after injuring his knee. And Patrick Surtain also hurt his knee. Fangio said that Noah Fant is close to returning from COVID protocols. Surtain had an MRI on Monday, which showed a sprained knee. Defensive tackle Mike Purcell and linebacker Malik Reed missed last week, and all this is questionable. I mean, don't you have to fade? Well, I should say don't you have to, but it certainly seems like the Broncos are susceptible here after everybody saw how good they played, and then they're dealing with all these injuries. Bebsie, take it away, Eagles-Broncos.
I understand the logic to want to fade the Denver Broncos after such a huge win against Dallas. And, of course, all the injuries. That's the only thing that's keeping me off them, though. The injuries are keeping me off, not the win against Dallas. But it's still Denver or no play for me. I think they're just they're a very underachieving football team right now, but I still think they're a much, much better team than the Eagles. And there's 2 coaches, rookie coaches that had horrendous press conferences in the preseason. The other being Campbell, but Sirianni too. Sirianni just comes off like a dope, and I have no faith in him. It's Denver or no play. It's the injuries that kill me in this one, though. There's a lot of injuries, but Judy's back. Cortland Sutton's back. They now have 2 great receivers. If Fant is getting close, they're just a better football team, but damn, are they beaten up.
Jacksonville Zoe says, why is the line only 3? I expected -4 or 4.5 after the Dallas game. Vegas wants people on Denver. Christopher Comtini says, please don't take the Eagles. Well, I tell you what, there's no chance I'm on the Broncos. So that means that it's probably no bet. And if it's no bet, then I don't even think how are the Broncos going to do anything with their whole offensive line in shambles? I don't get it.
What did Prince of the City tell you? Remember what Prince of the City told you? Bet against the Eagles.
He hates the Eagles more than anything in life. And I want to take the Broncos. I think I need to see what this injury report looks like later in the week. And depending on who's out, who's in, I might still take the Broncos in this.
Yeah, I can understand if Surtain is good to go. Prince C says, if you watch the Eagles defense, look, it's terrible. It's terrible, but is Bridgewater going to have any time to do anything? There's a lot of moving parts here. I don't want anything to do with. So nothing for me. Bebsie, you making anything official here?
No, but I am putting a question mark beside this because I am going to look at the injury report for the Broncos, and if it doesn't look too bad, I will be taking them later this week.
All right, let's move on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. We have 3 games left on this card. Seattle Seahawks at Green Bay Packers. Seahawks 3-5, 2-2 on the road. Packers 7-2, 3-0 at home. God, there's a lot of moving parts in this game. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 39 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Starting to get a little chilly. And pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson says Surtain's out for starters there. Seahawks coming off their bye week. Let's see what we are dealing with here. We have Green Bay opening up as 5.5-point favorites. Let's move to 3.5 and now 3 at Sports Interaction. This total was juiced initially to the over 49.5. Now it looks like it's the under 49.5. And that tells me that we are dealing with, Slatsy says 2-1 Jets, Jimmy, neck sweat. No, no sweat. Jets are going to take care of business. No sweat. No, not even a concern. Okay, slight concern. Seahawks coming off their bye week again. Let's see what we're dealing with here with the cash flow. 2,559 tickets in, 57% of the tickets, 82% of cash on the Seahawks, 57% of tickets on the over, 68% of cash on the over. Clearly the market indicating that Aaron Rodgers won't be under center. Seahawks were last seen in a 31-7 win at home over Jacksonville. It was a Geno Smith show. He looked great, and I'm glad he did. 20 of 24 for 195 yards, 83.3% completion percentage, a career best when he's thrown at least 20 attempts. So we've hit the midpoint in the schedule, and they're 3-5. Only one other time in Pete Carroll's tenure have the Seahawks had a losing record at the time of their bye. So this run defense needs to keep improving. They held their last 2 opponents to under 100 yards rushing. Seattle ranks 21st in yards rushing, 20th in rush attempts, and 19 in yards per carry. So offensively, they haven't been able to move the ball. Maybe that changes if Chris Carson comes back. He's expected to try to practice this week, but there's no guarantees here. He's still missed the past 4 games with a neck issue. Quandre Diggs, 4th on the team in tackles, has all 3 of Seattle's interceptions, has looked very good. Carlos Dunlap was thought to be this big piece of the puzzle on defense, and he's looked bad. 12 total tackles, 4 quarterback hits, and 1 half sack. He's played at least 50% of the snaps in 5 of 8 games. So the idea is that Wilson returns and Carson returns and the Seahawks roll. Let's start with the Seahawks before getting to the Packers. Do you expect the Seahawks? What are your expectations of the 3-5 Seahawks in the second half of the season?
A lot of it hinges on the health of Russell Wilson. I know that Geno Smith looked good last week, but obviously Russell Wilson is much better. But this team has finally taken a step back. It's looked like they would for years. They put some money and some draft capital in some wrong places. Jamal Adams is clearly very good at rushing the passer, but he's not a safety. And they traded 2 picks for him. They put a lot of money in to keep him. There's too many holes on both sides of the ball for them to truly compete against elite level teams. So I think you'll see more of the same from Seattle. Though they're going to win some games. They might even be pushing towards the playoffs by the end of the season. I just don't see them as a threat because there's zero depth, and it's all because of the way that things have been allocated poorly for this team. So I'm assuming this weekend we are going to see Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Now, if you want the Packers, you kind of have to bet them now because I do think once Aaron Rodgers is announced, you'll see that line move in their favor. And look, Seattle throughout Russell Wilson's career has been terrible playing at Lambeau. I think their record's like 1-10 or something crazy. So if you want the Green Bay Packers and you want, and Aaron Rodgers has something to prove. He's a dangerous, dangerous man. And he's pissed off this week. He's spouting a bunch of crazy shit, and whether you agree with him or whether you don't, he's an angry guy right now. So if he plays this weekend, I think Seattle gets wrecked by Green Bay.
I expect them, both Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, to be in the lineup. So the Seattle Times reported that Russell Wilson looked great, threw the ball all over the place, first time out in a limited number of plays, but looked excellent. And then when we move over to the Green Bay side of things, and it is a wild. Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show, said that he's confident he's going to clear all necessary COVID-19 protocols. This is him, quote unquote, says, I believe there's a health hurdle, movement, sweating, and getting into it, making sure my body, especially my heart, is fine with physical exertion. So he's expected to be in the lineup. Also, David Bakhtiari is going to – we're not sure if he's going to be activated from the PUP list. But we don't know if he's going to be able to play Sunday. So that will be a big help as well. Jacksonville Zoe says if Rodgers plays, it looks like we lost Bebsie for a second. He'll be back here shortly. Says if Rodgers plays, I love the -3.5. Packers come in. Bebsie back in action here. Says Packers coming up 13-7 loss at Kansas City. Jordan Love was 19-34 for 190 yards, touchdown and a pick. They're 6-12-1 without Rodgers since 2008. It's the first time we haven't seen Rodgers on the center. He missed his first game since 2017. They managed 301 yards of offense, so they were still okay. Jones went 12 carries for 53 yards. A.J. Dillon ran 8 times for 46 yards, caught 4 passes for 44 yards. Jordan Love ran 5 times for 23 yards. Dillon and Love each cashed Bebsie's player props. It was Jones that didn't. 2-1, not bad at all. Randall Cobb, 3 receptions for 50 yards. 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits was not enough. And Stokes left in the first quarter with a knee injury. Kenny Clark had to be helped off with a sore back. But at this point, it looks like Kenny Clark is questionable and Stokes is questionable. So nothing – we would know already if they were going to be out of the lineup. So let's say Rodgers is in and Russell Wilson is in. What's your move here?
Look, if they're both playing, my bet is Green Bay, but it's hard to bet without knowing that. And on that Pat McAfee show, Rodgers looked pretty rough. So, I think he will play. I think he will be fine. I wouldn't confidently bet them not knowing that, because if you're betting Green Bay and Jordan Love is your starter, and you're giving money away.
Yeah, and Burgundy Bet says you can't reasonably bet this game until you know which quarterbacks are starting. I can tell you that everything points that Russell Wilson will be starting. So that's the one thing that you can count on here. So we're going to have to wait and see for that Seahawks-Packers game at this point. Pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson says he always looks rough. He certainly has over the last couple of years. Let's move on to the Sunday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 5-4, 2-2 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders 5-3, 3-1 at home. We're at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. We will start with the odds page here. We have the Chiefs opening up as 2.5-point favorites. This total opened up at 51.5. Now it's at 52 or 52.5. Pinnacle leading the way towards the over. Then we get into the cash flow in this spot. 2,963 tickets in. Again, this is the Sunday nighter, and we're just on Tuesday night. 62% of the tickets, 66% of the cash on the Chiefs. That's on the spread, of course. 59% of tickets on the over, but just 50-50 on the total. Chiefs come in off an underwhelming 13-7 win at home to the Jordan Love-led Packers. 237 yards of total offense. What's happening to this football team? Mahomes completed 20 passes for 166 yards. I mean, I understand that Jordan Love was incapable of beating them, so just stick to a conservative style of play, but they just don't have any explosiveness anymore. Travis Kelce led the receivers, 5 catches for 68 yards, and he just doesn't look right, and it's awful. It's that dark side of football, you know. Darrell Williams, I don't know what to make of this offense. And then defensively, they were pressuring Jordan Love. They got a sack and 7 quarterback hits. L'Jarius Sneed had a pick. What the hell's going on with this offense, Bebsie? And is this an offense that you trust?
No, and you can't trust them right now. But I don't know. No one knows what's going on with this offense. There hasn't been much of a personnel change. Their line got better. So you would think they'd be tearing it up. And I don't know if some of these guys are just kind of breaking down. Kelce does not look the same as he has in previous seasons. There's something missing from him. He did take that monster shot in the head. I want to say it was at the end of the Bills game. And he's been a little quiet since then. I don't know if he's dealing with anything from that. It's entirely speculation on my part. Tyreek Hill is quietly still putting up a ton of yards. But yeah, they don't feel explosive. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, he just doesn't look like himself at all. And I don't know if it's, 3 deep runs in the playoffs and this team is fatigued, and maybe the second half of the season you see the Chiefs get it together, go on a run. It's quite conceivable that they could go on a 4-game run here and be sitting at 9-4, and all this "what's wrong with the Chiefs" talk will be gone. But until you see a shift in that direction, I just don't. I don't see it, especially the fact that their defense is certainly not playing well enough to make up for the fact that the offense is sputtering. This has been an offensive team, so I do not have interest in backing the Chiefs right now until I figure out if they're good or bad. I'm leaning bad. That's how they're playing.
But with the cloud hanging over the Raiders franchise, I kept beating myself up for not taking the Giants last week. 23-16 loss. Cargo's 30 of 46 for 296 yards. Touchdown, 2 picks. Darren Waller caught 7 passes for 92 yards, back healthy again. Kenyon Drake was the second leading receiver, caught 6 passes for 70 yards. He also ran 4 times for 30 yards. Josh Jacobs, trying to get healthier, carried the ball 13 times for 76 yards. Hunter Renfrew, 7 catches for 49 yards. Nobody else did anything from a receiving platform. And, Carr drove all the way down to the Giants 13 at the end of the game, but got strip sacked. This team's been so bad after a bye over the last few years. And I know that with the coaching change, I mean, they're 3-16 after a bye over the last 19 years. I mean, it just doesn't matter who's coaching or who's at the helm. They just lose. And, there were some pinpoint opportunities for Carr that he just missed. Ngakoue had 2 sacks. Looks good. This pass rush you can count on. Absolutely count on. And, Keyshawn Nixon, Nick Kwiatkowski, and Darius Philon all left the game with ankle injuries. Going over there right now to see if they are all going to be in the lineup. Nixon, Kwiatkowski are questionable, but that's the only thing here. Honestly, I think this is a great buy low spot on the Kansas City Chiefs, but we know that the pass rush can get to Mahomes. Is the Raiders secondary to be trusted here?
There's the Raiders can't catch a break. Obviously, John Gruden being exposed for the piece of shit that he is. That was a big distraction. The Ruggs thing is just sad. Every way, shape, and form you look at it, terrible. Now this Damon Arnett shit, they can't catch a break right now, and it showed up on the field last week, losing to an inferior team. And now they're playing Kansas City Chiefs. As bad as they're playing, they're still a better team than the New York Giants. And so if the Raiders can't pull it together as a team this week and put all this negativity aside and concentrate on football, because they still have a very good football team. Ruggs obviously not being in that lineup eliminates the deep threat that they had with him. He was a big field stretcher, and that's going to hurt their offense. They're going to sputter a bit. I know they have been in talks with Deshaun Jackson, which I think would help them. But this is
I believe he's signed, by the way. I believe Deshaun Jackson signed.
He is signed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that helps. And but I really think they need to get past all of this other stuff. And yeah, I know Damon Arnett wasn't playing, but it's still just another massively negative thing that this team has to deal with on after the tragic thing that happened with Ruggs. And then I think they got past Gruden quickly, to be honest with you. I don't think that's on their mind anymore. They're like, yeah, you guys a dildo, and we're glad that the dildo is gone. But the Ruggs thing is heavy. And then this thing is just, it's more bullshit that they don't need right now. So I think this is a huge moment for this Raiders team this year. And I think if they can pull together and beat the Chiefs, I think this will be and that will galvanize this team moving forward. But again, I need to see how they do react.
Honestly, I think this is a perfect buy low spot on the Chiefs. And I know this goes against a lot. There's just too much weight and baggage on this Raiders team. And the Chiefs can get out of Kansas City, hit the road. I'm going to move on the Chiefs as soon as the show's over. Birdie just jumped in and said, I like the Chiefs here. This Raiders team's an absolute mess, out of control. There's no discipline. The Raiders will fall off hard here. It's the Chiefs are nothing for me. I'm going to move on the Chiefs. I think everybody being against the Chiefs at this point is a perfect situation for me. Bebsie, we're going to move on to the Monday Nighter. I'm going to pull you out here, or let's let Jose see if he can get you right here, because your internet was so good throughout the show, but it's having troubles right now. I'm not sure how you want to handle this, Jose. So let's try pulling out Bebsie right now and getting him back in. I'm going to be moving on the Chiefs minus 2.5 and getting minus 110. Basically, all they have to do is win the football game, and I expect them to be able to do that. All right, Pepsi's looking good backstage. Let's bring him in. Okay, we're going to move on to the Monday Nighter. This is the last game on the card. Los Angeles Rams 7-2, 4-0 on the road at the San Francisco 49ers, 3-5, 0-4 at home. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, 62 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the weather. Let's take a look at the odds situation here. We have the Rams sitting at -4, open at -4, -105. They're now -4 at even money. So a slight move towards the home Niners, who don't look good. Let's see where the cash flow lies in this spot. Just 1,992 tickets in. Again, this game's 6 days away. 90% of the tickets on the Rams, 82% of the cash, then 62% of tickets on the over. By the way, Cowabunga says Raiders cover and win, and James says Rams are a free square. This is a perfect time to bet the Chiefs, man. Perfect time, and I will be on them within 2 hours. Rams coming off having their 4-game winning streak snapped in ugly fashion, 28-16 at home to a Titans team playing their first game without their star running back, Derrick Henry. The Rams were very close to being held without a TD for just the 4th time in their 73 games under Sean McVay. Stafford 31-48 for 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. 1 interception was returned for a score. The other was returned to the Rams 2. It was his 24th pick 6 of his career. That's the most among active quarterbacks. And he sprained his ankle during the loss. This is questionable. We know Stafford. He'll have every intention of playing, and we expect him to play. He will have to get hurt again in practice, basically. Robert Woods caught 7 passes for 98 yards. It was a nice player prop that you had, Bebsie. Cooper Kupp caught 11 passes for 95 yards. Darrell Henderson Jr. ran 11 times for 55 yards. Von Miller did not make his debut. He's still working back from his ankle injury and learning the playbook. He's expected to be in the lineup this week. Their defense, even without Von Miller, could still apply pressure. That was not the problem. 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Jalen Ramsey had an interception. And Jacob Harris was placed on IR today, tight end Jacob Harris with a knee injury. The Cardinals were without Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green. They lose Chase Edmonds in the first quarter, and they had no trouble beating the 49ers. It's always tricky when you have both teams in bounce-back spots. Now, are the 49ers capable of bouncing back? That's a question that we have to answer. Birdie says Stafford has back issues. Apparently, this was an issue in Detroit also, and his play last game was consistent to how he played fighting through a bad back in Detroit. I'm staying far away from this game. Christopher Comentini says Stafford versus Jimmy G. Who throws the most picks? And Gerald Jones says bet Rams today. San Francisco secondary, bottom 5. Harold Williams says Stafford not good against good teams. 49ers not a good team. So San Francisco struggled. They lost fumbles. They could do nothing right. McCoy could get whatever he wanted. And it wasn't really Jimmy G's fault. I mean, he threw for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. They were destroyed defensively. They couldn't get a running game going. And it was just ugly all around. Bebsy, you know this Niners team inside and out. Do you have any interest in them as a 4-point home dog?
No, I'm going to take Rams first half and full game. The only reason this is close is because of Stafford's ankle injury and the fact that the Niners have won 4 straight against the Rams. But the Niners are bad right now, and they're missing key elements of that defense that gave them a chance. They were flimsy in the secondary to start the season. Any injuries were going to put them at risk. They lost Verrett. Then they lost Tart. Then they lost Jimmy Ward, who might be back this week. But they've also lost Kinlaw, who's been shut down for the season. He was their space eater in the middle. Mo Hurst hasn't been able to play. They're just going to get gashed on the ground. All Stafford has to do is not throw a spinorama interception in his own end zone. And Debo is also dealing with a calf strain. That's why he had less targets last week. He still ended up with a solid game. They're now without right tackle Mike McGlinchey, who had a quad tear he's done for the season. McGlinchey was terrible in pass pro, but now you're giving way to either Tom Compton or a rookie right tackle. The rookie is probably the better option here, but all of this aside, the injuries aside, this is a demoralized San Francisco team that is greatly underachieved this year, and they're currently like 1 in their last 12, 1 win at Levi, and they're horrible at home right now. So I'm fading the shit out of the Niners, especially against the Rams team, who they've taken a lot of shit talk for losing 4 straight, especially last year when the Niners beat them with CJ Beathard last year. And you better believe that this game's been circled on the calendar for the Rams for a while, and I think they're going to punish the Niners.
Wow. Very, very interesting. You can get pretty nice numbers right now. You can get -3 first half at -101, and full game -4 at even money. Harold Williams says, will the 49ers ever win a full game? Burgundy Bet says, couldn't agree more. Rams smash here. Jacksonville Zoe says, Debo will get continue to get less targets with Kittle back. Hawk quarterback Lamar Jackson said, Kyle coaching for his job. Do you think
Yeah,
Kyle
I don't know. I don't
job?
know. That's become a bit of a narrative lately. I don't think so. You'd be crazy to get rid of Kyle. He'd be hired somewhere else within minutes, and they just allowed him to trade the future of their draft capital for Trey Lance. It would be crazy to not let them develop him. So I don't think Kyle is on the hot seat, but he is not coaching very well this year at all. That's for sure.
A free play on this under at 49, this total at 49, what would you do?
Given the way this Niners defense is played, I would probably lean the over, but I wouldn't be super confident in it.
Very, very interesting Tuesday night breakdowns from our guy, Rob Bebenek. Let's review action on this big Week 10 card. We enter the second half of the season. At this point, nothing on the Thursday nighter, but it's a Dolphins or no bet, and I would like to see what I can get on the Dolphins get closer to game time. I don't have a lot of looks on this card right now. I am going to move on the Titans team total under 23.5. I'm going to leave it at that. Titans team total under 23.5. I do have some interest in the full game under, but not going to move it. Yes, that does count as a goal if Jose. And Birdie saying Shanahan did not want Lance. He wanted Pat's kid. The second they took Lance, he was finished. Shanahan wants out. He's pissed. Is there any truth to that?
No, Birdie, stop believing in conspiracy theories. There's no way that they would trade that much and then not let the coach get his guy. Come on. You know better than that, Birdie.
Okay. Colts first half -6. I am going to move on against the Jags. So that will be another move for me. Then Bebsie's on the under 45.5 in Browns Patriots. And I expect to move on the Patriots here. I just have to understand what the hell's going on with this market move towards the Browns when they're dealing with all this bullshit going on with COVID. I have to wrap my head around that, and I'm not sure if I will do that tonight. Then Bebsie moves on the Bills. First half -6.5 and -108 at Pinnacle. I want the Detroit Lions. I'm going to bet them tonight. It sucks I'm going to get the 8.5, but it is what it is. Bucks, Washington. We're curious to see what kind of number we're going to get on Washington as the week goes on.
Jimmy, before you get too far away from that, I am going to move on the under in that Detroit Steelers game. It just makes too much sense.
The Detroit Steelers under here. And let's line shop for you quickly, as this is in addition to your card. You have 43, under 43 at -115, and that's the last 43 available. So you get it. It's at Pinnacle, but it's at -115. Are you fine with the 5-cent charge?
Yep.
Bebsie under 43 -115. Jacksonville so says my Jags are hot. 2-1 last 3, and we scored 9 points last game. You are. Sunny Spring says like you're calling Kansas City. I'm sure that's going to take a lot of heat when the video comes up, but I think it's a great buy low spot here on the Chiefs. But then I have a vividness bias of the Chiefs that has affected me, and it continues to affect me. So that's legitimate, Sonny, that I'm dealing with here. So we're waiting on Washington to see what kind of number we can get. Nothing for Carolina Cards. Then nothing. Oh, Bebsie's on the over 52 in the Vikings Chargers. And I'm going to bet the Chargers tonight. I think it's the same situation. I know they haven't been very good at home, But I just see this as the exact same. And they got no pass rush on the Eagles. That was so confusing to me. So, maybe I got to think about this a little longer. How could they not get any kind of a pass rush? Bebsie, can you very quickly, I know we got to go, but can you what's wrong with this fucking Chargers pass rush? Can we not trust Bosa to get to the quarterback?
Who's helping him? He's had, for most of his career, he's had Ingram on the other side. So maybe it's just they need somebody to go along with Bosa. And Bosa's also kind of, he's still a great player, but he's just having a quiet year right now. And I think that's because he's the focus on that D line.
So is their pass rush so weak right now that they shouldn't be bet?
I was weary. I think they should win, but I was weary on that game myself. That's why I took the over.
Okay. Then Eagles, Broncos, no action for us, but under zero circumstances will I be on the Broncos. Then Seahawks, Packers, still got to figure. I expect we know that Russell will be there. It's just will Aaron Rodgers. Then Chiefs minus 2.5. I am moving on. And on the Monday nighter, Bebsie is doubled up on the Rams. First half -3 and full game -4. And one of the things that Pistol Pete Loshak always looks for is a capper who's betting against his own team. And that's happening here. Betting against his own team. And that makes me want to follow suit. I'm trying not to double up on anything. Thank you, everybody watching the show and supporting the show. We have nothing without you guys. Gerald, Jones, Birdie, Jacksonville, Zoe, Burgundy Betts, Pocket Quarterback, Lamar, Jackson, Sunny Springs, Only Bet the Plus, James, Slatsy, Birdie, Dennis Garcia, Christopher Comentini, Harold Williams, Dennis Trusty. What a great, great group. Thank you guys so much. Cowabunga. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us, man. Bebsie, I believe in you. Second half of the season, I think you're going to turn this bad boy around, man. I really do. I've watched you cap football for a long time, and I like your card already here. Any last words for these great cappers supporting the show?
You guys are the best. I'm so happy to get the chat back. I couldn't get it for a couple of weeks, but I love your input. I love the jokes. Dan Kelly backed off when he ripped me. Don't back off, man. I deserve that shit. You guys are beautiful.
I have one last update. You guys both went silent. That scared me.
Okay, sure.
Jimmy, we're both on Winnipeg. The Dirty Peg right now. And It's 2-2 in overtime, and there's about a minute left. And it seems like we're about to go into a shootout.
Yes, I'm trying not to pay too much attention to it, but if it does go to a shootout, we have the advantage.
Do we?
Oh yeah,
Bebsie, do we?
Yes.
Kyle Connor is an absolute snipe machine. Shifley is extremely good in shootouts. So yes, I think we have.
I just want to let you know these last 20 seconds have been really sweaty. Have been exceptionally sweaty, and I kind of wanted to live this out in front of you right now because it's the end of the show. Bebsie, you have places to be, so I'm sorry for keeping you a little longer, but I just wanted to share this anxiety with you.
You're a real swine, Jose.
They call me the pig for a reason, dude. But now we're in a shootout officially, and I wanted to share that experience with you, Jim.
Well, I'll have the game on here in seconds. On behalf of Jose Bouquet, my guy, Rob Bebenek, and everybody here at Pub Sports Radio, thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Second half of the season, let's have ourselves a giant Week 10.